Part 47. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 465. Who is that person? He can actually sit with the white-haired fairy. Although Su Huang was also sitting with Yun Mei, they were both women and looked like friends at first glance. As a man, Su Junming, sitting among them, naturally stood out. Everyone's eyes are also on him. Don't you even need to ask? If you can sit with Yun Xianggu, you must be in a state of spiritual cultivation. A major repair of the soul? How can there be such a major repair of the soul in the world? Genren Su, is that Genren Su Junming from Chongshan? An incredible voice sounded, causing everyone to burst into uproar. Chongshan Master Su Junming has already followed him in wiping out the Black Heart Demon sect and slaying the Longjiang Shui tribe. His numerous achievements have spread throughout the world. Although the Donghai cultivation world is far away overseas, it is also connected to the Daong cultivation world. Su Junming's name has long been spread here. Is that really Mr. Su? It is rumored that Master Su likes to wear a green Taoist robe, holding a bamboo staff, hanging a green gourd around his waist, and binding his hair with a gold ring. Don't you think this person is the same as the rumors? It really is. More and more people confirmed the existence of Su Junming, and the atmosphere of listening to the sermon instantly became heated. Su Junming, a real person in Chongshan, in addition to his outstanding military record, is even more praised for his skill in refining weapons, and his superb skills. He is proficient in Hushan Dao, Puppet Dao, Sword Dao, and other Dao techniques. Although the grand gathering of immortals in Longjiang has become a thing of the past, the scene when Su Junming preached has been widely circulated. Therefore, everyone is extremely looking forward to the Taoism taught by this famous monk who is revered as the first Yuan Shendaxiu in Daong. Genren, it seems that everyone is looking forward to you. How about this first scene be narrated by a real person? Yunmi said with a smile. Su Junming said calmly, no need, I will be fine in the end. Sister Yun, let Master have the final say. You and I will speak first. Otherwise, after listening to Master's teachings and then listening to you and me's sermons, wouldn't it be boring? That's what my sister said. Then let me tell you first. Sister, please. Yunmi nodded and tossed it casually, and a golden bell flew up. With a dong sound, the crisp sound of the bell spread throughout the countryside. Anyone who has been to Wooding Island to listen to sermons knows the rules. As soon as they hear the bell, they subconsciously keep silent, sit upright, get rid of distracting thoughts, and prepare to listen to the sermon. Seeing the old people behaving like this, those who were here for the first time understood instantly and quickly shut their mouths. Fellow Taoists, the Wooding Island sermon starts from this moment. In addition to me, there are 2 other people preaching today. You must have guessed it, yes, the high-ranking practitioner sitting on my left, he is the famous Master Su who once annihilated the Black Heart Demon cult and destroyed the Longjiang Shui tribe. The crowd was in commotion again, and most people looked at Su Junming with fiery eyes. The person on the right is Su Genren's disciple, Yuan Shendaxiu, Ice Phoenix Fairy Su Huangxiu Genren. Since the last battle at the Dragon Palace of the Longjiang Shui tribe, Su Huang, who was surrounded by wind, snow, and cold waves, has been given the title of Ice Phoenix Fairy. Compared with Su Junming, Su Huang's reputation is not inferior. After all, she is also a Yuan Shen monk. Of course, the bonus of beauty is also essential. Monks are humans too, and they also love beauty. Moreover, Su Huang's cold temperament was also more popular among the male monks. Today's sermon on Wooding Island will be led by 3 of us. The first is me, the second is Fairy Su Huang, and the last is Master Chongshan. This is a rare opportunity. All monks should be careful in their words and deeds, and stay calm. Chi, listen sincerely, if anyone makes noise and disturbs the order, he will be expelled from Wooding Island without warning, I hope you will remember this, Yunmi, I said with a solemn face. We will obey the immortal and strict instructions, everyone said in succession. That's good. After a pause. Listen carefully, I will explain the water movement technique next. After taking a slight breath, the clear voice echoed on Gulen Lake. The best thing is like water, water benefits all things. Yunmi, I gradually explained the water path she understood from the shallower to the deeper. Su Junming himself no longer understands the water method, but has left it to one of the 7 soul clones, Fu Yapo Dragon Emperor. His great 5 elements divine light contains the innate 5 elements and is most suitable for practicing the 5 elements Kung Fu. Water law is also one of the 5 elements, and naturally it is also the category of the Dragon Emperor's enlightenment. Of course, as Su Junming's Dharma body, the two of them share the true spirit. In fact, they are still the same person. He can also enjoy what the Dragon Emperor gained from enlightenment. Su Junming found the Dragon Emperor who lived in seclusion in Tianmen Mountain outside Daongzhongzhou City through the mysterious soul connection, and passed on the water method explained by Yun Mei to him. How? This woman's understanding of the water method is not as high as mine, but she has a solid foundation. Listening to her explanation can also complement my water method, the Dragon Emperor said. As long as it's useful. After a pause, Su Junming continued, what's going on with that centipede? The national destiny that has been devouring Daong is accelerating its cultivation. It is estimated that in another 10 years, it will be the day when it will successfully overcome the catastrophe. Su Junming nodded slightly. He left the Dragon Emperor in Daong and lived in seclusion in Longmen Mountain in order to monitor Sahangputu nearby and know his enemy and himself. This monster has never left Zhongzhou City. No. What a shame. Su Junming sighed in his heart. Without the blessing of the great Yang Dragon Qi in Zhongzhou Imperial City, the Dragon Emperor's cultivation and the magic of the great 5 elements divine light would be enough to suppress Sahangputu. But obviously, it also knows that the dragon energy of Zhongzhou City is the basis for resisting itself. Even if he deliberately traveled overseas and even fought with the Kunlun Patriarch, the centipede demon was still a bastard who was determined to hide in Zhongzhou City and not come out. Su Junming, who had been planning for a while, punched the empty space. With the mystery of the great 5 elements divine light, I can kill this beast even if Sahangputu swallows all the energy of the great eternal dragon. The Dragon Emperor's tone was still full of arrogance and endless confidence. Su Junming smiled and didn't say much. He believed that the Dragon Emperor could do it, but what he wanted was absolute victory, not gambling on Sahangputu's cultivation. Actuating the Danshan Hushan talisman, a small space channel opened, and the 4-image sword formation that had been rotating around the Kendo talisman flew into the channel, spanning tens of thousands of miles, and appeared next to the Dragon Emperor. I won't be able to use this treasure for the time being, so I'll leave it to you. The Dragon Emperor frowned. Although he felt that this was unnecessary, he did not refuse. After Yunmi finished explaining the water method, it was Su Wang's turn to explain the ice method. The ice path is a path formed by mixing the water path and the wind path. If you want to understand the ice path, you must understand the water path and the wind path. Because Yunmi Izuyu was already in front of the water path, Su Huang skipped it and talked about the wind path first, and then talked about the ice path that mixed wind and water. The time it takes to talk about it in this way is naturally much longer than when Yunmi only talks about water. However, this is indeed good news for the people below who practice the way of wind and the way of ice. Looking at the snowflakes falling all over the sky and the frozen lake not far away, Su Junming nodded secretly. All kinds of strange phenomena all show that Su Wang's practice on the ice path has made some progress compared to half a month ago. As expected, he is a natural spiritual species, a direct descendant of the phoenix. Little Huang's understanding of the ice path is almost as good as mine with the blessing of the bronze mirror. Call. Suddenly a gust of strong wind swept past, collecting the falling snow and disappearing. Su Huang waved his hand, and the frozen Julan Lake thawed instantly, and soon returned to its previous sunny state, with half the lake and lotus pond. Everyone looked at all this and could hardly recover. My way of speaking ends here today. After saying that, Su Huang looked towards his master, with a touch of hope in his eyes. Su Junming smiled and nodded approvingly. Little Huang is good. I haven't seen you for just a few days, and your conduct has improved again. Hearing the compliment, Su Huang's cool and pretty face couldn't help but reveal a smile of joy, as if a child who had been praised by his parents was exuding joy from the inside out. It's all thanks to the teachings of my mentor. This was not the time to say more. After a brief exchange of words, Su Junming turned his head and looked at the expectant eyes of the audience. Although when he first came to Wooding Island, he planned to take a walk and leave after meeting Yunmei. He had no intention of preaching. But now that we are sitting here, we must be worthy of this position. Moreover, he has traveled in the world of spiritual practice and is well aware of the difficulties of casual practitioners, and is determined to help them. There's no need to talk about the way of water, let's start with the way of earth, Su Junming thought to himself. In fact, among the 5 elements, the most practiced one is fire. It is powerful and versatile, and is favored by most casual cultivators. But this is above the East China Sea, where the path of water is the most powerful. Water and fire are not compatible, so practitioners of the path of fire have become the least. Su Junming uttered mysterious sounds, but he just paid it back at first. When he talked about the realm of Yuan Shen, the thick earth-yellow aura, like a ribbon, filled the entire Julan Lake. Floating and floating, extremely mysterious. Soon, the streamers formed by this mysterious earth element spirit quickly condensed into a piece of land. The land rose and turned into mountains. The earth rolled and squeezed each other, and the faint bright white aura gradually became stronger. Then it turns into various minerals and is buried underground. Suddenly, it rained heavily, and the rainwater merged into rivers and formed a sea in low-lying areas. Moistened by sufficient rain, the trees, vines, and flowers quickly sprouted and grew into endless forests and pastures. As the earth squeezed each other, the earth's crust cracked, and the huge volcano, like an angry dragon, erupted endless magma. The magma ignited the woods and turned into endless fire. With a click, huge thunder spread across the sky, the rolling wind turned into a storm, and a heavy downpour came from behind. I don't know when, some animals began to appear in the forest. Later, human beings who drank hair and drank blood appeared again. After human death, the soul returns to the underworld and is reincarnated again. Among them, those who are good and have meritorious deeds ascend to heaven and become gods. As human beings gradually move from ignorance to civilization, the 3 realms of heaven, earth, and man are gradually perfected. Staring at the top, although it was only the size of a lake, it seemed like an illusory world containing billions of miles of space. Yunmei's inner shock was beyond description. Because she felt the 5 elements Tao, Yin and Yang Tao, Creation Tao, Wind and Thunder Tao, Sword Tao, Huishan Tao, Reincarnation Tao, and many other principles, and even the content of human nature. No matter what kind of Taoism you practice, you seem to be able to find corresponding content in it. How many Taoist practices has Su Junming practiced? Dozens, or hundreds. But, how is this possible? She had heard of people practicing 4 or even 5 Taoist methods, but they were composite Taoist methods similar to Su Huang Hanbing Tao. It was the first time for her to see dozens of completely unrelated Taoist practices. What makes her even more unbelievable is that looking at the scale of the illusion, Su Junming has many practitioners, but they are not greedy for more. On the contrary, most of the Taoist realms are extremely advanced. In particular, Taoist methods such as Huishan and Netherworld have reached a point where it is difficult for her to guess. Subconsciously, he turned his head and glanced at Su Junming, whose eyes were slightly closed, his lips were opening and closing, and his spiritual sounds were constantly pouring out, stimulating the continuous evolution of the fantasy world. Taking a deep breath, Yunmei suppressed the shock in her heart and took advantage of this rare opportunity to start to understand. At this moment, the bronze mirror in Su Junming's dantian was shining brightly, and the spiritual talismans around him were all brilliant. In a dream, there are yellow beams, ghostly white bone flags, Tianluo umbrellas, Tianli drums, statues of Guandi, Daihuang Mountain, and the Eight Treasures Pagoda, with thousands of rays of light and thousands of auspicious colors. The talismans and the spiritual treasures complement each other and are closely connected with the illusory world outside. In addition to the outside world, there is an even larger world in the Taishi cave of Daihuang Mountain. Since we want to preach, of course there is no reason to only favor outsiders while excluding our own people. So at this moment, millions of practitioners in Taishi cave are all crossing their legs to understand the Taoism taught by him. 1 day, 2 days, until 3 months passed, Su Junming stopped preaching and slowly opened his eyes. Looking at the illusory world above Gulan Lake, I took a breath and a smile appeared on my face. At the beginning, he only planned to explain the Tao of the 5 elements. When he was immersed in the Tao realm, the idea of organizing what he had learned emerged from the bottom of his heart. Su Junming followed the trend and spoke out all the Taoism he had learned. After this sorting out, he also gained a lot. With a wave of his hand, the illusory world in mid-air instantly dispersed like stars and clouds, turning into rich spiritual energy and falling in the sky. In the blink of an eye, the spiritual energy concentration on Gulan Lake increased dozens of times. After listening to the sermon for 3 months, the listener, who was already extremely tired mentally and physically, was instantly shocked and quickly mobilized his skills to absorb spiritual energy and repair himself. Gradually, the spiritual energy above Gulan Lake dissipated and returned to normal levels. The listeners opened their eyes with some unfinished thoughts. Although he was still a little tired, his eyes were full of excitement. Everyone felt that listening to the sermon was fruitful and worthwhile. "Thank you so much, Master." The monks who came back to their senses expressed their gratitude to Su Junming one after another. After nodding slightly, "I hope you will practice well in the future, do more good deeds, and live up to my hard work today. We must strictly follow the teachings of the real person." His voice was loud and there was a firmness in his tone that was soothing. "I have a guest at home today. From afternoon to evening, I didn't have time to write too much. I only have these 4,000 words today. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes." Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 466. I wonder if the Master still accepts disciples now? If so, we hope to have the opportunity to join the Master's disciples and listen to his teachings. After Su Junming finished his sermon, a young monk wearing a blue robe and a sword on his back suddenly asked. After hearing his words, other people's eyes instantly lit up, with hope in their eyes. Especially after listening to the Taoist teachings explained by Su Junming before, they also had a stronger desire to become their disciples. Su Junming smiled lightly. "As long as they can pass the test, I don't have too many apprentices. I wonder how a real person would test it?" Su Junming waved his hand, and a green light flew down onto Gulan Lake. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a stone gate 10 feet high and 9 feet wide, with divine patterns embossed on the stone gates on both sides. The heavy and simple stone door exudes an elusive and mysterious atmosphere. With a thought in my heart, the 10-foot-tall, slightly rough stone door slowly opened, revealing a scene that looked like the night sky inside. Dots of white light, mixed in the endless darkness, seemed to contain infinite space. If someone can pass the test of the stone gate, he can enter the sect of this deity. Although this earth god gate is not the real body, it is enough to test people. Do you really mean what you said? I never tell lies. After the young swordsman clasped his fists and bowed to Su Junming, he flew straight into the stone door and quickly disappeared from everyone's eyes. With the first crab to eat, all the people who came here to listen to the sermon flew in swarm. There is immeasurable space within the Earth God Gate. Let alone thousands of people, even if hundreds of thousands of people go in together, it won't be able to fill it. Now I saw that Gulen Lake, which was once crowded with people, was now empty. A trace of hesitation flashed in Yunmi's eyes. She was curious about the apprenticeship test set by Su Junming and wanted to try it. But after thinking about it I gave up. If by any chance I can pass, should I become a disciple myself or not? Although she was friends with Su Huang as a peer, she had different opinions with master and disciple Su Junming. If I were just a generation younger, I would feel a little bit awkward. Moreover, now that he is already a soul and there is no hope of becoming an immortal, although he can get a lot of benefits by worshipping Su Junming as his teacher, he can still reach the peak by practicing step by step. If she fails to pass the test of the Earth God sect, it will undoubtedly show that Yunmi's qualifications are not that outstanding. This really brings disgrace to her soul cultivator. I once heard that the real person set up a test outside the city of Zhongzhou. As a result, out of the hundreds of thousands of monks in Daong, only fellow Taoist Yan Shixiayan passed and became a disciple of the real person. This shows how severe the real person's test is. This time I'm afraid there won't be any people who can pass the test of real people. Maybe, everything is unexpected. Even though he said this, Su Junming didn't think anyone here could pass his test. There are many people who are excellent in any one of the three aspects of mind, aptitude, and understanding. Although there are few people who are excellent in two, there are some. But those who are excellent in three are rare. Among the hundreds of millions of people in Daong and nearly 1 million monks, there was only one Yan Shixia. Although the population of Daihuang Mountain Cave Heaven is small, there are more monks following Su Junming's policy of popularizing spiritual practice. But even so, among the tens of millions of people, there is currently no candidate who has passed the test. The closest one is the named disciple he accepted, Su Yang. It's just that this guy likes sex, and he goes to the Earth God Gate to take the test, but he always falls into the trap of Nephrite Wengxiang, which makes Su Junming a little helpless. Sister Su, have you ever entered this divine gate? Su Huang nodded. As a direct disciple, she had of course tried the Earth God sex test. As a phoenix with pure blood, there is no problem with his qualifications and understanding. As for the character of mind, he was taught by Su Junming since he was ignorant of spiritual consciousness. In addition to being influenced by his bloodline and having a cold temperament, his style and methods of doing things are almost the same as Su Junming's. Of course there is no problem in passing the test of the Earth God Gate. The same situation applies to the Fu sisters. Sister, don't you go in and try. I'll forget it. If I can't pass, wouldn't it be very embarrassing? Su Huang smiled and didn't say much. While several people were talking, one after another people were thrown out by the stone door. Obviously, they were eliminated. After falling into Gulen Lake, he woke up and hurriedly activated the escape light to fly up. After bowing to Su Junming and the others, he covered his face with his sleeves and left in shame. Of course, there are also some shameless ones who hide in corners and want to take a closer look. But after half a month, not a single person passed the test. Finally, the young swordsman with the sword on his back was also ejected from the stone door. Originally, Su Junming thought he would question him. Unexpectedly, this person looked at Shimin and sighed, bowed respectfully to himself, and then left Gulen Lake with his escape light. This son's name is Sima Lin. He got a chance at a young age and is extremely talented in swordsmanship. In just a short period of time, he broke through to the nascent soul realm. In the East China Sea cultivation world, he is vaguely respected as the leader of the younger generation. After saying that, Yunmi subconsciously turned her head and looked at Su Junming. It's a pity that there is no tendency at all in his always calm expression. Looking at the disappearing light, Su Junming felt a little regretful. This Simolen is indeed good, his aptitude and understanding are excellent, but his character is too strong. Although the way of swordsmanship is a way of killing, it emphasizes bravery and diligence, and one sword can defeat all methods. But just after the break, if you don't know how to assess the situation and blindly seek to kill, you won't be able to live long in the spiritual world. He didn't want to accept such a disciple. Not only would it cause a lot of trouble, but he might also have to pay for his funeral. If I work harder, I might be able to get rid of this problem. But by then, Su Junming may no longer be in this world. It can be seen that there is no master-disciple relationship between the two. Simo Lin was also a well-known figure in the East China Sea. Even if he looked at him, everyone gave up their intention to become his disciple. Su Junming waved his hand, and the phantom of the Earth God Gate disappeared like a dreamy bubble. Seeing this scene, the surrounding monks also left in twos and threes. Fellow Taoist Yun, the sermon is over and it's time for me to leave. Yunmi, I was stunned. Fellow Taoist is leaving. Su Junming nodded. But I didn't entertain you well. He waved his hand to interrupt her. You don't have to think too much, Taoist Yun. It's just that I have been wanting to explore the open sea for a long time. Now that there is nothing going on, I don't want to wait any longer. After saying that, Yunmi I was not given a chance to continue speaking. Su Junming's figure gradually became blurred. Xiao Huang and the two little girls, remember to practice well. If the next time we meet again, if your cultivation level cannot meet the requirements, I will not agree. The lingering sound curled up and gradually faded away. Su Huang and Fu Qingfeng looked respectful, and Fu Yueqi pouted her lips. Although her body was very well behaved, looking at Gilialu's big eyes that were wandering around, it was obvious that she was planning something else. Leaving Wooding Island and continuing eastward, there are fewer islands. Occasionally we come across uninhabited islands that are also remote. When all the islands disappeared and only a blue sea remained, the journey became lonely. Even Kuei Niu and Hego, who had always been bickering, became listless. But this time did not last long. When the color of the sea water began to gradually turn black, the once calm ocean became rough. The fierce hurricane rolled up huge waves of more than 10 feet or even dozens of feet, and fell down like a wall. Fortunately, Su Junming, Kuei Niu and Hegu all practiced cultivation. If they were ordinary people, they might not be able to survive for even 1 minute in such harsh sea conditions. However, I learned from Yunmi that this is not the East China Sea, but the sea area where the East China Sea and the Inland Sea intersect. 1 man, 1 cow and 1 dog flew forward for about 3 hours. After crossing nearly 10,000 miles, a huge black wall appeared in the distance. This huge wall blocks out the sky and the sun, like a giant pillar supporting the sky. It wasn't until they walked in that they discovered that it was not a strong wave at all, but a wave swept up by a hurricane. Huge waves, driven by the hurricane, soared thousands of feet into the air, like a giant mountain, and crashed down. However, hundreds of millions of tons of seawater soon turned into a giant mountain again under the stronger hurricane force. A wave, like a huge wave on a huge mountain, completely subverts people's understanding of the ocean. Be good, if this wave comes down, Master Dog will be turned into dog meat. The black dog's eyes bulged, his mouth opened wide, and he couldn't recover for a long time. Kuei Niu had a higher level of cultivation. Although he was surprised by the force of the waves, he was calmer at least. Hearing this, he squinted at the black dog. No, with your small body, if you are hit hard by the waves, it will only turn into shit. Black Dog was immersed in the natural shock of heaven and earth, and had no time to reply. Su Junming waved his hand and took it back to Daihuang Mountain. In this harsh sea condition where every wave is equivalent to the action of the Yuan Shen monk, the black dog in the golden elixir realm has no chance of surviving. In order to prevent it from holding back, it is better to receive it from Daihuang Mountain first. Let's go and see the East China Sea and see if it is really as difficult to cross as others say. Kuei Niu nodded, lightning flashed around him, and his figure disappeared instantly. It exploded with all its strength, and its speed was more than 10 times faster than when it was carrying the black dog. A journey of 2,000 miles was quickly crossed. When one man and one cow rushed into the waves without hesitation, his ears were shocked. The sound of crashing waves was louder than the thunder in the sky. Kuei Niu activated his magic power and tried his best to stabilize his body. The hurricane here, even at its lightest point, is comparable to a full blow from a monk who has perfected the nascent soul, one of the winds. The stronger part is even comparable to Yuan Shen. If combined with Feng Shui, it would be even more powerful. Master, do we really want to go into this damn place? What, are you scared? Kuei Niu shook his head quickly. How can Lao Niu be afraid? It's just like this bear here. Is there really an opportunity that I need? Su Junming felt the powerful wind and waves around him with deep eyes. It is precisely in this inaccessible place that we can find the valuable treasure that I want. After saying this, he waved his hand, a flash of light flashed, and Kuei Niu was also brought into Daihuang Mountain. Although its cultivation has reached the level of Yuan Shen, it is still difficult for those who are new to Yuan Shen. Carrying it around is also a burden for Su Junming. This way I can completely let go. As soon as my heart moved, I dreamed that yellow beams flew out of my dantian. As the light flickered, a thick space barrier separated 3 feet of space, blocking out all the wind and rain. No matter how powerful the wind and waves are in the outer sea, in the end it is just the wind and waves of the small world, and it cannot affect the 365 top-quality spiritual treasures integrated into one dream yellow beam. Walk. With a low drink, Su Junming, who was about to move in his heart, instantly disappeared into the depths of the ocean like a giant mountain. The spiritual energy exploding in the outer sea greatly affects the consciousness. But it can't affect the bronze mirror in Su Junming's body. With its help, he can see everything around him for thousands of miles. Hey, it's interesting. Go and have a look. After activating his magic power and flying hundreds of miles to the left, a deafening beast roar rang out. Boom! With a loud noise, the mountain-like waves were smashed into pieces, and a giant turtle with a body length of nearly 2,000 feet flipped out of the deep sea. This turtle looks strange, with a hill-like head like a bald chicken, a tail like a giant python, thick scales covered with barbs, and broad claws that are sharp and pointed. Turtle. The appearance of this giant turtle is similar to the spinning turtle in the classic of mountains and seas. With a crash, the waves rose into the sky, and a strange fish with a body length of 3,000 feet, a head like a shark, 8 legs under its belly, a tail like a fish, and a body covered with blue scales rushed out of the sea. With a flick of its tail, its huge body pounced towards the spinning turtle as fast as lightning. Giant tiger fish. There are many strange beasts in this world that are not in the classic of mountains and seas, and the giant tiger fish is one of them. Ouch, roar. With an earth-shattering roar, the spin turtle used its tail to fly away the giant tiger fish that flew towards it. The huge body instantly overwhelmed the waves. With a boom, the spin turtle actually rose from the sea, as if a meteorite fell from the sky, hitting the giant tiger fish heavily. It was as if there was a thunderclap in the sky, and the sound of the surrounding wind and rain was suppressed. The endless sea water, carrying the 2 big guys on its back, forced it to sink hundreds of feet. The surface water retreated thousands of feet before being covered again by the hurricane. Looking at the 2 giant beasts fighting fiercely in the deep sea, Su Junming's eyes showed excitement. Those who can survive in this harsh environment in the open sea must be ancient beasts with strong physiques. Otherwise, it would be impossible to withstand the violent spiritual energy here. And these wild beasts have grown for thousands of years, and the fittest have survived. All of them have strong bodies and full energy. If he could kill and refine the essence and blood pill, his cultivation of the Panhuang Sutra would surely improve quickly. This is also one of the main purposes of his coming to the outer sea. With a finger, a dream of yellow rice turned into 365 grains of yellow rice. This is the most primitive state of this treasure. Go. The light yellow aura was inconspicuous in the stormy, almost night-like environment of the outer sea. In a dream, yellow beams flew hundreds of feet across. Su Junming's heart moved at will, and instantly turned into a 3-foot-long bell. In addition to being the spiritual treasure of his space path, Yimeng Huangliang also entrusts his understanding of the soul path. Make a seal with your hands and drink from your mouth. The lost soul bell. The sound of dong was not too loud, but the crisp sound seemed to ignore the obstruction of wind and rain and quickly spread to the surroundings. The weird sound waves instantly penetrated the wind and waves. The spin turtle and giant tiger fish fighting in the sea trembled and fell into a daze for an instant. Although their bodies are strong and their souls are not weak, they are not immortal birds or beasts after all, and the bloodline of spin turtles and giant tiger fish in their bodies is not pure. I can't bear the sound of a soul-destroying bell, which is comparable to a fairy weapon. Su Junming's heart moved. The soul-destroying bell turned into 2 chains, flew thousands of feet across in an instant, went deep into the sea, and pulled the souls of the 2 strange beasts out of their bodies. Without the host of the soul, the remaining body is just a pair of flesh and blood full of blood. Su Junming slapped the green gourd on his waist, and the huge swallowing power enveloped the spin turtle and giant tiger fish, and quickly pulled them in. He patted the gourd on his waist with satisfaction. After enjoying these 2 big guys, my Panhuang Sutra will be one step closer. It is said that I can break through the 7th level of Tiangang realm. Thinking of this, his eyes looking at this huge open sea became more and more fiery. In the eyes of others, this may be a wild place with dangers hidden everywhere. But in his eyes, this place is indeed a treasure. With hope, Su Junming activated the escape light and flew towards the depths of the outer sea. At the same time, he maximized the effectiveness of the bronze mirror and looked for clues to other prey. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 467. The violent hurricane rolled forward with huge waves as high as 1,000 feet. After the huge waves reached the peak, the wind was unable to sustain them, and they quickly fell down. Billions of tons of seawater were captured, and the powerful kinetic energy shook the seawater hundreds of miles around. The sound was like thunder in the sky, deafening. Su Junming sat cross-legged in the space created by Yimeng Huangliang. His whole body was red, and his hot masculine blood was exposed, filling the entire space with a strong golden red light. Suddenly, a soft sound of pop came from Su Junming's body. Immediately afterwards, a golden light the size of a pea came out through the Taoist robe. The originally calm energy and blood outside his body instantly became turbulent, churning violently like a flame. The already strong momentum also increased rapidly, and it quickly improved a lot. When the golden light in his chest and abdomen disappeared, Su Junming's aura and blood became stable again. Finally broke through to the 9th level. Su Junming felt excited. Starting from the time when he killed the spin turtle and the giant tiger fish, he had been wandering in the East China Sea for 3 months, during which time he killed 3 ancient relics similar to the spin turtle. After devouring them, the huge energy and blood directly caused Su Junming to break through the realm one after another, from the 7th level to the current 9th level, opening 11 acupoints in a row. Shaking the empty green gourd. It's a pity it's gone. He stood up and looked at the surging wind and waves outside, with anticipation in his eyes. I don't know what I can hunt this time. Put away the yellow beam of a dream, activate the escape light, and fly straight into the depths of the wind and waves. The East China Sea seems to be boundless. Although he has not been flying into it all the time in the past 3 months, he has at least penetrated thousands of miles deep. But even so, the wind and waves are still getting bigger and bigger, and it is obvious that he has not yet reached the real level. Center. Half a month later, after beheading a large whale like Kun, Su Junming finally discovered something different with the help of a bronze mirror. A huge shadow appeared in the wind and waves that had reached more than 2,000 feet. This is, island. Su Junming instantly became curious. He had been wandering around the East China Sea for nearly 4 months, and this was the first time he saw an island. He urged Hu Tianxian to perform his magic, and after 2 moves, he came to the island in an instant. This is indeed a large island, covering an area of more than 100 miles and reaching a height of several thousand feet, like a giant mountain protruding from the sea. The blue-black mountain stone has been polished smooth by the violent sea water and hurricanes around it, with almost no big bulges visible, and its hardness has surpassed that of many ordinary spiritual treasures. It is really a treasure created by heaven and earth. With the material of this mountain, if this mountain can be made into a treasure, it will definitely be a powerful spiritual treasure. Su Junming examined it with great interest for a moment, then urged the escape light upwards, and soon it exceeded the height of the huge waves, leaving only the violent wind blowing. Without the huge waves, the surroundings have become much brighter. At least we can see the sun. Standing in mid-air, looking at the endless black ocean below, Su Junming still marveled at the magic of heaven and earth, even though he had seen it several times. And this is not the center of the East China Sea. Going outward, the wind and waves will be even greater. Hey, it's empty. After reaching the top of the mountain, Su Junming suddenly discovered that this huge mountain was not a complete piece, but hollow inside, like a crater. Out of curiosity, he flew over. The mountain pass with a diameter of nearly 100 feet goes down to the even larger belly of the mountain. As we walked down the cave entrance, the sound of the wind suddenly became much quieter, and there was a faint warmth around us. The source of this warmth is the surrounding rock walls that exude a faint red light. Shaoyang Fire Jade. Su Junming, who is proficient in weapon refining, can see the reality of these rock walls at a glance. Shaoyang Fire Spirit Jade is a cave-level spiritual material. Ye Gaiyun, the head of the Xianjing division, used a piece of Shaoyang Fire Spirit Jade and asked him to help refine a spiritual treasure. Compared with Ye Gaiyun's piece of Shaoyang Fire Spirit Jade, the Shaoyang Fire Spirit Jade here contains less pure Yang essence. But the number is countless times greater. From the vicinity of the cave entrance, there are all Shaoyang Fire Spirit Jade, and the thickness is several feet. More importantly, all along the rock wall at the entrance of the cave are filled with Shaoyang Fire Spirit Jade, probably no less than tens of millions of tons. This was the first time for Su Junming to see so many cave-level spiritual hedgehogs gathered together. Even if we can't find the ancient dragon court during this trip to the East China Sea, this Shaoyang Fire Jade Mountain is still worth the price of admission, Su Junming thought excitedly. After calming down his turbulent mind, his body fell deeper into the mountain. The depth of this mountain is 3,000 to 4,000 feet. Under the huge amount of Shaoyang Fire Spirit Jade, the inside of the mountain is warm. Although it is not as bright as under the scorching sun, it is also extremely bright. A lake. When they landed at the bottom of the mountain, a lake appeared in front of them. The lake, which was 100 miles long, was extremely calm. Under the faint red light, it looked like an extremely smooth mirror. Su Junming was slightly disappointed. I thought that surrounded by this huge amount of Shaoyang Fire Jade, there would be more precious treasures, but I didn't expect to find nothing in the end. I am too greedy. This Shaoyang Fire Jade Mountain itself is a treasure of inestimable value. After some consolation, Su Junming was going to take out Daihuang Mountain and take this giant mountain away. Before he could take action, ripples suddenly appeared on the calm lake surface. He was sure that he was not wrong, and there were no ancient relics here. In the moment of hesitation, the trembling on the lake surface became more intense. It was like boiling water, churning violently. At this time, the fool also knew that something must be coming from under the water. Su Junming activated the Hushan magic talisman, opened up a temporary space to hide in, and activated the bronze mirror in the Danshan. In the blink of an eye, everything within 1,000 miles was exposed. Everything in the lake is no different. The moment he saw it clearly, there was a hint of solemnity in his eyes. It turns out that there is a water channel under the lake, which stretches thousands of feet and is connected to the water outside. At this moment, a giant snake with a gray head and black body that is hundreds of feet long is swimming towards the lake along the water channel. Looking at its slightly bulging belly, it was obvious that it had just had a full meal. Ba snake. The pale head and black body are the most striking features of the Ba snake recorded in the classic of mountains and seas. The moment he remembered it, Su Junming also remembered what Yunmei had said last time, about the snake she encountered when she broke through the soul and entered the East China Sea for the first time. However, in Yunmei's mouth, the opponent was a giant snake with a body length of 2,000 feet and an extremely fierce aura. The one in front of me is obviously much smaller. However, the Ba snake is born as a strange beast with the attribute of space. The name of the Ba snake has been passed down for thousands of years. It is difficult to say that the snake has not awakened some magical power that can compress space. After all, Su Junming himself mastered such techniques. Really? With the help of the bronze mirror, he quickly felt the fluctuation of space next to Ba snake. After the mirror light penetrated the changed space barrier, a giant snake with a body length of nearly 2,500 feet and a huge body like a mountain appeared in front of the eyes. Su Junming secretly breathed in his heart. This was the first time he had seen such a huge snake. Even the dragon body of Aokun, the former master of the Longjiang water tribe, was not so huge when unfolded. What a strong blood! Under the bronze mirror, the blood in Ba snake's body was several times stronger than the 5 or 6 ancient relics he had swallowed combined. The mirror light penetrated the skin and flesh of the snake, and its internal organs, which were full of energy and vitality, appeared in the eyes. When I found my stomach, it turned out to be a huge space. Inside the stomach pouch, which is nearly 1,000 miles long, there is a giant whale with a body length of 500 feet, and a giant octopus of about the same size. Compared to the dead giant whale, this octopus is still alive, but no matter how hard it struggles, it can't escape the huge stomach space. When it is exhausted, it will die. In addition to these 2 ancient relics that are full of energy, there are countless sea fish, crabs, shrimps, and other ocean creatures of all sizes around them. The stomach pouch, which is 1,000 miles long, is mostly filled with these sea creatures. It seems that the scope of activity of the snake is no longer limited to the East China Sea. But that's fine, getting rid of it is also a meritorious deed of mine. Su Junming felt a surge of heat in his heart. With the powerful essence and blood of the snake, plus the large and small beasts in its stomach. If all of it were turned into spiritual blood and essence through his green gourd and swallowed, his Panhuang Sutra Tiangang realm would be able to reach the 11th level even if he could not reach the 12 levels of perfection. With expectation, Su Junming raised his hand and pointed, and the dream yellow beam gathered its aura and flew to the bottom of the lake. Originally, he planned to activate the Void Dharma realm and let the Naba snake fit in headfirst to catch turtles in an urn. But he soon changed his focus. As a practitioner of Hushan Dao, he knew very well that he was extremely sensitive to any fluctuations in spatial spiritual energy. Ba snake is also a strange beast with space attributes. If it uses the space law, it may be noticed before it can get in. In this case, it is better to use the old method. I'll give you a sap first. A dream of yellow beams turned into a big yellow beam bell. With a dong sound, the mighty bell, mixed with the strong soul falling power, ran straight towards the Naba snake. Su Junming stretched out his hand, and the spatial spiritual power was so powerful that the tough space barrier outside the snake's body instantly cracked a big hole. Before it could recover, the soul-destroying bell rang and swarmed it. As if the snake was struck by lightning, the space outside its body was instantly shattered, and its huge body of 2,500 feet was instantly stuck in the thousands of feet long lake tunnel. Because its body is too thick, far exceeding the width of the tunnel under the lake, the surrounding rocks are constantly being crushed by this huge force. However, it can stand firm in the harsh sea conditions of the East China Sea. The hardness of the rocks is comparable to that of low-grade spiritual treasures. Although the snake's body was squeezed, it did not collapse. On the contrary, the snake's body was squeezed and suffered serious injuries. Crack, the iron chain crossed the sky, and the yellow beam turned into a soul-binding rope, flying towards the head of the snake as fast as lightning. In the past nearly 4 months, he had used this technique to capture and kill 5 ancient relics, almost without any disadvantage. But just when the chain was close to the snake's head, an accident happened. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 468. A small tree suddenly flew out from the top of Ba Snake's head, knocking down the soul-binding rope formed by Yimen Huangliang. Su Junming was shocked. It is composed of 365 grains of yellow rice, and each grain is a dream yellow rice that is the best spiritual treasure. Although it is only a spiritual treasure, its power is probably stronger than many immortal weapons. It has been used in the past, and it has always been detrimental. I didn't expect that I would fall into disgrace in front of the snake. Looking at the small tree that was about 10 feet tall, with lush branches and leaves, and surrounded by the rich innate Taishi Aoki aura, my heart moved. This is innate spiritual root. Su Junming didn't have time to ask for confirmation, because Naba snake had already woken up from the sound of the soul-destroying bell. Roar. Amid the earth-shattering roar, the water at the bottom of the cave seemed to be swept by a hurricane, rising thousands of feet in an instant. The huge snake eyes were filled with fear and anger. If it hadn't been for the protection of his spiritual treasure just now, he might have suffered a disaster. Who is it? The huge consciousness spreads towards the surroundings. Soon the soul-binding rope dozens of feet wide above his head reflected into the sea of consciousness. Before it could continue to explore, the iron rope had already turned into a giant beige bell, and with the mighty sound of the bell, it was knocked down with a powerful soul-dropping force. Bashi felt huge uneasiness in his heart, and he didn't dare to neglect, and quickly activated his spiritual treasure. The green light of the small tree flickered, and the powerful innate Taishi Kingmu spiritual energy blocked the sound of the soul-destroying bell. At this moment, a black hole suddenly appeared within 7 inches of Ba Snake, and a brilliant golden sword light penetrated from it and slashed straight towards 7 inches of it. The trouble in the elbow and armpit made Ba Snake change color instantly, and he subconsciously wanted to avoid it, but his body seemed to be suppressed by the ancient giant mountain and could not move at all. Only then did it realize that the space compression circle outside its body had long been broken, and its entire body was trapped by the giant mountain that once gave birth to it. Roar. Along with the roar of pain, a huge crack appeared 7 inches below the snake's neck. The hot and smelly snake blood was like a high-pressure fountain, instantly dyeing half of the waterway red. Holding the 8 treasures pagoda in his hand, the golden sword on the 3rd floor kept beating. Just now, he used the formation to drive the golden sword and inflicted heavy damage on Naba Snake. However, as he expected, the situation of directly cutting the beast into 2 pieces did not appear. When the sword energy penetrated no more than 3 feet into the flesh, it encountered a strong barrier. Shua, a black light flashed. After activating the compression formation, Ba Snake escaped from the trap and followed the waterway to the large lake in the middle of the mountain. The body of 2,500 feet spread out, and the huge body almost filled the entire mountain. The huge snake eyes stared angrily at Su Junming, who was in mid-air. Who are you and why do you want to go against this king? Looking at the hundreds of feet of huge, dark, rough, and hard hills surrounding Ba Snake, there was no doubt that this extremely rough spiritual treasure that he had practiced in his eyes was the one that finally blocked his golden sword. Thing. But what Su Junming cares more about than anything else is the small tree floating above Ba Snake's head. Innate spiritual roots. Su Junming's eyes were filled with heat. This is a legendary treasure. From the memories of the Black Mountain Old Demon and the Black Demon Taoist, we learned that this thing is even rarer than the innate spiritual treasure. In the huge Chixian Shenzhou, with a population of hundreds of millions and thousands of giant sects, there are less than a handful of people with innate spiritual roots to suppress the sects, which shows how rare it is. Shi is not a fool. You can tell what Su Junming is planning by looking at his eyes. Damn it, you actually covet my spiritual treasure. There was a hint of viciousness in his eyes. After activating the magic power in the demon pill, a black hole the size of a bowl suddenly appeared behind Su Junming, and a sharp white bone stabbed straight into his back, fiercely. The skin and flesh were torn apart without appearing. A small mountain with flashing spiritual light suddenly appeared in front of the bones. With the irresistible force of swallowing, the bones disappeared instantly like a mud cow entering the sea. Ba Snake was shocked. Although this bone sword is not its natal spiritual treasure, it is an important treasure that has been practiced for hundreds of years, like an arm and a finger. I didn't expect it to be taken away so easily. You still want to use the method of space to plot in front of me. It's really ridiculous. Su Junming opened his palms, and a complex and mysterious eclipse text flashed instantly. Thunder sounds coming from the mouth. Certainly. The mysterious power of the seal surged straight towards the huge snake. Ba Snake, who had suffered a loss during the soul-destroying bell, did not know the validity of this method, but he instinctively sensed something was wrong and activated the spiritual tree above his head. An innate Taishi King Muqi flew past, and the mysterious innate power blocked Su Junming's acquired magic power. His brows furrowed slightly. Forget it, let's take you down first. As soon as his heart moved, he dreamed that the yellow beam turned into a big bell, and the mighty sound of the bell filled the air, restraining the innate spiritual roots on the top of Ba Snake's head. He stretched out his hand and pointed, and a big blue drum flew out, rolling thunder towards Ba Snake. The heavenly thunder drum, as its name suggests, is made by Su Junming using the heavenly tribulation divine thunder, and is filled with the pure aura of heavenly thunder. The thing that monsters fear most is the catastrophe. When the thunder came out, Ba Snake was shocked and tried his best to move the small tree above his head. Su Junming smiled lightly. I see you can do your own thing. Actuating the 8 treasures spirit pagoda, the golden sword flew out, and the mighty sword energy slashed straight towards the 7 inches where Ba Snake had just stopped bleeding. The latter quickly mobilized and used the spirit treasure that he had cultivated from the spirit stone where he was born to block the sword energy. Laugh. A deep sword mark was embedded in the black stone mountain. Although this spiritual stone that conceived the Ba Snake is hard enough and has profound spirituality, it is almost the pinnacle of this world. But the method of sacrificial training is really too rough, and compared to the 8 top spiritual treasures, which can be combined with formations to exert their full power, they are far behind. As long as he slashes with a few more swords, I believe Su Junming will cut open the black stone. But he didn't want to waste time. With a burst of magic power, a small mountain with flashing light flew out from the Danshan. Looking at Ba, who was clumsy under the suppression of his various spiritual treasures, Su Junming smiled faintly, made a few seals with his right hand, and drank. Earth Emperor Dao Hunyuan Seal. The Earth Emperor Dao Hunyuan Seal controls gravity. In the past, Su Junming had insufficient cultivation and insufficient understanding of the Earth Emperor Dao, so he used it more extensively. It can only be activated, but cannot be controlled as desired. Now that his magic power has advanced to the 7th level of Yuan Shen, his understanding of the earthly emperor's way has also reached perfection below the immortal realm. He can now freely use the Earth Emperor Dao Hunyuan seal, exerting 50% of the mystery of this seal. If you want to truly master it and use your fingers like an arm, you must have magic power and Taoism at the level of an immortal. But even so, it was enough for Su Junming. The unimaginable huge force pressed down instantly. There are 2 caves in Daihuang Mountain. The area of Taishi Cave sky reaches 120,000 miles, which is infinitely close to the limit of cave sky. The Taiyuan Cave covers an area of 30,000 miles, which should not be underestimated. The combined weight of these 2 caves is equivalent to 2 Earths, or even more. Such a huge weight, even if it is only half of it, is enough to crush the snake in an instant. Ba Shi, who was about to die, didn't care about anything else, and frantically urged the demonic energy to pour into the spiritual treasure above his head. The extremely rich innate Taishi Qingmu spiritual energy brushed straight towards Daihuang Mountain. Although innate spiritual roots are wonderful, they are not omnipotent. Under such strong gravity suppression, Aoki's spiritual energy shattered and quickly dissipated. Boom! The whole mountain trembled. Under this tyrannical gravity suppression, Ba Snake's body was instantly crushed into meat cakes. Spare life. The vitality of the ancient relics is indeed strong, and even so, they are still not dead. I want your flesh and blood to practice, so how can I spare you? Just go in peace. He activated Yimen Huangliang, which instantly turned into a soul-binding rope and pulled out Ba Snake's soul. After putting away Daihuang Mountain, patting the green gourd on his waist, and taking in the body left behind by Ba Snake, Su Junming sat cross-legged in the air, activated a dream yellow beam, and checked Ba Snake's memory. Picture after picture flashed by. The origin of the Ba Snake has gradually become clear. Originally, there was a huge boulder hundreds of feet high that was narrow at the top and wide at the bottom in the lake under the mountain. The lower end of the boulder blocked the entrance to the water vein below, and the upper end of the boulder was exposed on the lake surface, turning into a platform of more than 10 acres. The snake was born from an egg placed on this platform. After speaking out, from a sealed stone box on the platform, he got a leafy branch filled with the innate Taishi Qingmu spiritual energy, a bottle of elixir, a volume of empty devouring true solution, and a sharp bone sword. Because of his extraordinary bloodline, Ba Snake was born with perfection, awakened his spiritual wisdom, and began to practice by swallowing pills according to the practice method of the true solution to devouring the sky. Relying on the treasures left by its ancestors, it had a smooth journey, and it took 200 years to cross the 2 realms of Jindan and nascent soul. It wasn't until he advanced to the level of soul that he had the strength to practice the black stone that blocked the underground waterway. After the practice was completed and the black stone was put away, the restriction blocking the hole above also disappeared. At this time, Ba Snake entered the sea and grew rapidly by devouring ancient relics in the sea. Before meeting Su Junming, it had been practicing for nearly 3,000 years. As far as cultivation is concerned, he is already infinitely close to overcoming the tribulation. If the aura of this world hadn't been enough for the monks to accumulate enough information to overcome the tribulation, Ba Shi might have overcome the tribulation and become a demon immortal thousands of years ago, and passed away. It seems like this snake has some background. If it had not been given by its predecessors, how could it have received so many treasures as soon as it was born? However, seeing that it has been wasted in the realm of the soul for so many years and is still trapped in this realm, we know that most of the inheritance monsters left to it have been destroyed in the ancient war, or died somewhere. Otherwise, why would we let it go? He reached out and made a move, and a small tree about 3 feet tall with a mighty aura flew into his palm. Touching the neat fracture below, a trace of regret appeared on his face. I originally thought it was an innate spiritual root, but I didn't expect it to be just a branch cut off from the innate spiritual root. Although it contains rich innate Taishi Kingmu spiritual energy, it has lost its spirituality in the end. Although Su Junming could cultivate it into a spiritual root with the spiritual energy of creation, it was also an acquired spiritual root. It lost the inherent innate Taishi Kingmu fundamental energy and its value plummeted. What a shame. He shook his head and sighed. The overwhelming joy turned into despair. Unexpectedly, after all the hard work, all I got in the end was just a top-quality weapon refining material. Su Junming, who was in low spirits, didn't look at the hill and the bone sword anymore. He straightened up and soared into the sky. Soon he rushed out of the mountain pass and reached an altitude of several thousand feet. Overlooking the mountains below, standing tall amidst the huge waves. Opening his palms, Daihuang Mountain flew out. The tyrannical power of the world enveloped the entire mountain. Rise. The earth trembled, the waves rolled, and the earth dragon turned over. The huge movement made the surrounding area hundreds of miles turbid. A huge mountain with a height of 10,000 feet was slowly pulled out from the sea and was slowly absorbed by Daihuang Mountain. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 469. In Taiyuan Cave Sky, Kuei Niu and Black Dog were lying on the huge branches of the palace treasure tree, bickering boredly. Suddenly, the sky above broke open, and a huge and unparalleled mountain crashed down. The bull's eyes and the dog's eyes suddenly widened, and the two mouths opened subconsciously. Before these two guys could recover, there was a strong recoil force from their buttocks, causing them to hit the ground with their mouths unprepared, and they instantly performed a goose falling on flat sand posture. Fortunately, the palace treasure tree is huge enough, otherwise it would have to fall down. Rumble. The loud thunder-like sound was deafening. Ah, Ba spitting out the dirt in his mouth, the black dog shook his head and looked at the huge mountain in the distance. What's going on? Why did you fall down the mountain? Is the sky falling? What the hell, what happens in this 3/3 of an acre of Daihuang Mountain that doesn't have anything to do with our master? He, too. The black dog rolled his eyes and said, "Stupid cow, do you want to go over and have a look?" There was a hint of emotion in Kuei Niu's eyes. He knew that if he could be valued by his master, there would be nothing wrong with the things he brought into Daihuang Mountain. Whoosh, a ray of light disappeared instantly. Black Dog was instantly furious. Damn it, this stupid cow actually wants to eat alone. He quickly activated the escape light and flew over. Kuei Niu Dongguang flew half a circle around the mountainside, and under the influence of his spiritual consciousness, he found that the rock of this huge mountain was surprisingly hard. His spiritual consciousness penetrated 3 feet deep, and it was difficult to get any further. I was secretly shocked. What a hard rock. Now he somewhat understands the reason why his master brought this giant mountain in. With such a hard material and huge volume, if it were made into a spiritual treasure, its power would be astonishing. A spiritual light not far away attracted Kuei Niu's attention. He turned to look at the black dog flying towards the top of the mountain. This stupid dog is so clever. This huge mountain is integrated into one, and there are no caves in sight. Only the top of the mountain looks relatively flat. If there is a cave in the middle of the mountain, the most likely entrance is at the top of the mountain. Activating the escape light, Kuei Niu immediately chased after him. The soul-level monk's light evasion was already fast, and Kuei Niu's thunder path training allowed him to move at lightning speed. He was the last to arrive, and he quickly surpassed the black dog. This scene made Black Dog feel angry, but also quite helpless. Cultivation is a tough one, no matter how many tricks it has, it can't stop Kuei Niu from overwhelming the dog. One cow and one dog soon discovered the entrance to the top of the mountain. After entering one after another, the two guys were stunned for an instant. Ouch! The black dog let out a long howl in excitement and flew to the cave wall with a swish sound, looking at the golden red jade that exuded endless pure yang energy. Xiaoyang Fire Spirit Jade. The black dog's mouth trembled with excitement. Su Junming is an weapon refiner. Kuei Niu and Black Dog have been following him for a long time, so his eyesight is naturally not bad. Kuei Niu's eyes were red at the moment, and he was breathing heavily as he looked at the Xiaoyang Fire Spirit Jade that was thick on the cave wall and almost occupied the entire cave. The ancestors of the Ox clan come on, TMD, this treasure is too much. The black dog was so excited that he opened his big mouth full of noises and was ready to test the quality of the Xiaoyang Fire Spirit Jade. This was his usual method. Good things must be chewed twice to confirm the authenticity. God knows why it has such a hobby. Hefeng, if you dare to bite me, I will make you into a dog meat pot. The faint voice was like a basin of cold water, instantly extinguishing the greed in Kuei Niu and Black Dog's hearts. The cow and the dog shuddered and looked into the heart of the mountain. Thousands of feet away, they can't see this far with their eyes. However, Kuei Niu's spiritual consciousness could sense the bottom of the cave. Before it could lower its consciousness and look down, an irresistible wave surged out from the bottom of the cave, instantly blowing the two guys away. Go back and practice hard. I'll check after half a year. If your cultivation is still at the same level, don't blame me for being rude. After hearing Xuanyan, Kuei Niu and Black Dog did not dare to stay any longer, and returned to the spiritual beast courtyard dejectedly. After beating them away, Su Junming threw away the black hill in his hand. With a casual touch, all the rough restrictions on it were broken. The black hill that was originally about 3 feet in size instantly became hundreds of feet in size. Su Junming flicked his fingers, and the black mountain hundreds of feet long fell into the ground with a roar, blocking the original underground waterway. However, when Su Junming pulled up this huge mountain, the sea water had flowed away from this channel, so there was no sea water under the mountain. Of course, this is not a problem for Su Junming, who is proficient in water law. With a casual move, a black space channel appeared in mid-air, connecting the outside world to the East China Sea. The rich water vapor turned into gurgling water, and soon filled the mountain. The black mountain that was once several hundred feet long was only about a dozen feet long, still exposed above the water. Seeing that it was almost done, Su Junming closed the space channel. With a wave of his sleeves, more than a dozen seeds flew into the pool, and with the support of the strong innate greenwood aura, they quickly took root and sprouted. Dark green lotus leaves quickly sprouted out of the lake nearly 100 miles away. The thick leaves were 3 feet long, and the green color was alluring. Then, bright white flowers as big as a bowl of water grew up surrounded by hundreds of lotus leaves. The bones slowly opened and turned into lotus flowers the size of a wheel. The lotus seeds on the lotus mature quickly and fly into the water, and soon new lotus flowers bloom. Under Su Junming's urging, in less than a quarter of an hour, less than half of the lake's lotus flowers appeared on the lake nearly 100 miles away. These lotus flowers were the lotus seeds of the starlight spirit lotus given to him by Yunmei when he left Wooding Island, knowing that he liked to collect spiritual seeds. I kept it in my hand and never had time to plant it. Now it's used here. With this small half pond of lotus flowers, there is a little more life in the cave. Because of the lake, the black mountains that were once hundreds of feet high are now only a dozen feet high, or about 20 or 30 acres, still exposed above the water. Su Junming flew down, found a random place to sit cross-legged, and looked around. Originally he planned to use this giant mountain to refine treasures, but now it seems this is a good place for retreat and practice. This huge mountain with a height of 10,000 feet has been polished by strong winds and waves for many years. The material is extremely hard, comparable to the two elements of gold and earth, and it is the best composite spiritual material. Moreover, the thickness of the mountain is several hundred feet at its weakest point, and more than 1,000 feet at its thickest point, providing a strong enough defense. If it is further trained through the forbidden method, the defensive ability will be even stronger. The interior of the mountain is surrounded by Shaoyang fire spirit jade that is 7 to 8 feet thick. This kind of pure yang spirit material is the easiest to sacrifice and refine into a pure yang spirit treasure. And Chunyang Lingbao is the best nemesis of inner demons. With the huge amount of Shaoyang fire spirit jade in the heart of the mountain, if it is properly practiced, it will be a huge pure yang furnace. Any demon who dares to come in will be turned into scum by the endless pure yang true fire. He stretched out his hand and a 4-foot-long, curved white bone magic sword appeared in his palm. This magical sword was the spiritual treasure that Ba-shi planned to use the magical power of space to plot against him. Infected by mana and spiritual consciousness, without the obstruction of Ba Snake, he quickly successfully practiced this white bone magic sword. Compared to the previous black stone, the restrictions within this white bone magic sword are much more subtle. What a strong and vigorous white bone essence! Turning the bone sword in his hand, Su Junming's heart moved, a black and white aura flashed on his chest, and a black and white millstone emerged from the void. This is not a yin and yang grind in the hands of Renwuji. It is the magical power gained by Su Junming's understanding of the yin and yang Tao. Throw the white bone magic sword in, and the black and white millstones will continue to rotate. The unattended white bone magic sword cannot resist this powerful grinding force. With a cry, the spiritual light was scattered, and the restrictions in the sword slowly collapsed. The white bones that held the restriction were ground into pure white bone essence. Su Junming already has enough spiritual treasures in his hand, but this white bone magic sword is not in line with his Taoism, so it will not be of much use if it is left in his hand. But he didn't plan to use it to repair the Netherworld bone flag. Because the current Netherworld bone flag is enough for him. Even if his trump card comes in and out, it is not enough for this treasure to exert 50% of its power. Time passed little by little, and the bone sword was quickly ground into a ball of pure bone essence. Su Junming stood up and took a breath, and the bone-white essence flowed down his throat. Soon he felt that his bones were rapidly strengthening. Strong bones gave birth to more powerful hematopoietic stem cells, and stronger blood essence made his muscles stronger. After the whole ball of bone essence was digested, a feeling of fullness came to my heart. A sudden realization came to my mind. The 9th level is complete. Suppressing the desire in my heart to take the opportunity to break through, Qingqilu has not yet transformed the Naba snake into essence and blood. Moreover, after rapid promotion, the physical body needs an adaptation process. It's time for a good retreat. Su Junming stood up, spread his legs, lowered his shoulders and elbows, hugged his knees and sat astride the horse, and applied gravity to himself at the same time. As the gravity on his shoulders slowly increased, the energy and blood in his body was like the Yangtze River, hua 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 run away. The golden red light passes through the pores and shines all over the body. Looking from a distance, it seemed like a layer of golden red clouds shrouded Su Junming in the middle. It is easy to forget the years in practice. Su Junming has been wandering in the East China Sea for 9 years since he killed the Naba snake. In 9 years, all the ancient relics with a body length of more than 1,000 feet in the outer sea were killed. Although these ancient relics, which were fighting and devouring all day long and full of evil spirits, did not bring him much merit. Going also allowed Su Junming to improve his physical cultivation to the peak in 9 years. 9 years is not a short time. It's not just Su Junming himself who has changed. The palace treasure tree was proud of the rich spiritual energy of Taiyuan cave sky, and it also grew taller. The triple leaves become wider and thicker, and the interior space becomes larger. Among the 3 lowest leaves of the palace treasure tree, one leaf contains the spiritual valley, the other leaf is the library hall, and the last leaf contains 4 bluestone altars, 1 large and 3 small. This bluestone altar is the teleportation formation that Su Junming practices. The big one is a cross-border teleportation array, and the 3 smaller ones connect the cave heaven realms of Chiao Shaoxin, Yan Chixia, and Su Huang. In this way, no matter where Su Junming goes, they can easily enter and exit Daihuang Mountain. Soon, the altar on the front left flickered, and not long after, Yan Chixia, wearing a black robe, a big beard, a sword case on her back, and a yellow gourd hanging on her waist, appeared on the altar. I haven't been back for a long time, and I don't know how Master is doing. With one step, he stepped out of the teleportation hall, came to the outside, and flew straight towards the top leaves of the palace treasure tree. Yan Chixia was shocked when she saw the giant leaves measuring thousands of feet for the first time. But once I understand it and see it more often, I become accustomed to it. The moment the light flew down and fell into the leaves, the situation in front of me suddenly changed. The once green and shiny leaves disappeared and turned into a tall green bamboo forest. The shadow of a two-story wooden house can be faintly seen in the bamboo forest. He flew down to a bluestone square covering an area of 3 or 4 acres in front of the bamboo forest. He noticed the movement and lay on the side of the square. A giant dog with a body length of nearly 9 feet, a coat as black as ink, and muscular muscles opened his eyes instantly. The dark green pupils were like 2 will-o'-the-wisps, combined with the compelling light inside. It was frightening. This dog is naturally Hefeng. Ever since it came under Su Junming's sect, the task of guarding the door has fallen into its hands from Kuei Niu. It's natural for dogs to guard doors. Blackwind was happy to take on the task. Seeing that it was Yan Chixia, Hefeng yawned lazily and laid his head down again. Old Yan, why are you back? Hefeng, is Master in there? The Master is in retreat in Taiyuan Cave. Taiyuan Cave? Yan Chixia has not been back for many years and does not know where Taiyuan Cave is. Forget it, I'll take you there. The black dog stood up, raised his paws in the air, and left Chongshan residence. Yan Chixia followed closely behind. The area of Taiyuan Cave has increased a lot in the past 9 years, and now it is more than 35,000 miles. In such a large space, only the palace treasure tree occupies less than half. Most of the remaining areas are open fields with lush vegetation and crisscrossed rivers. Only on the edge of the Taiyuan Cave heaven and earth stands a green and black mountain, about 3,000 feet high, exuding a majestic, hard, and boundless atmosphere. The black dog landed on the top of the mountain. On the top of the flat and smooth mountain, which was hundreds of acres in size, there was a stone tablet 3 feet high, as if growing out of the rock. On the generous stone tablet, 3 etched inscriptions were carved with vigorous calligraphy. Taiyuan Cave. By passing Taiyuan Cave, there is a large cave with a diameter of 9 feet, leading to the mountainside. The black dog walked to the edge of the cave entrance and stopped. The Master is retreating inside. Yan Chixia searched with her consciousness and was quickly blocked by the powerful restriction at the entrance of the cave. And the consciousness that touched the mountain made no progress. However, a simple contact made Yan Chixia feel the power of the black giant mountain at her feet. Seeing the surprise on his face, Black Dog smiled. When I first got this mountain, it was 10,000 feet high, and the mountain was extremely hard, comparable to the best earth-moving spiritual things in the world. In the past 9 years, I have used Dafa to eliminate the bad and keep the good. It has refined 7,000 feet. Although this treasure has not yet been equipped with restrictions and has been trained into a magic weapon, its material alone is better than countless top-quality spiritual treasures. In that case, why hasn't Master trained it into a spiritual treasure? The Master said that he will grind down another 2,100 feet of this mountain, and then he will set up a magic ban. When the time comes, he will directly refine it into an immortal weapon. A look of surprise flashed across Yan Chixia's face and she nodded slightly. This is indeed Master's style. Either don't do it, or do your best if you do it. Haha, you're right. Hefeng smiled, raised his front paw and pointed at the hole. The Master is inside, you can shout it yourself. Don't disturb Master's retreat. The Master has not gone into seclusion, and he once told me that if anything happens, just stand here and shout. Yan Chixia understood. After taking a breath and calming down, he said respectfully, "Disciple Yan Chixia, please see my mentor." The sound was not loud, but at the same time as it sounded, on the black stone platform deep in Taiyuan Cave, a golden red cloud that spread thousands of feet quickly shrank inward, revealing Su Junming with his upper body naked and muscles all over his body. He breathed out slowly, opened his eyes, and saw two flashes of cold lightning. With a thought in his heart, a green Taoist robe emerged from his body, covering his body. A light yellow rope with a green leather gourd hanging in the middle, like a spiritual snake, was quickly wrapped around the waist twice and then tied with a wishful buckle. He glanced up. "Come in." The voice passed clearly into Yan Chixia's ears. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 470. There was a burst of pale white light at the entrance of Taiyuan Cave, which was a sign that the powerful restriction was lifted. Yan Chixia activated her magic power and flew towards the cave. Looking around subconsciously, the cave wall shining with a faint golden red light came into view. As soon as his spiritual consciousness touched him, before he could get closer, a strong burning sensation was transmitted to the bottom of his heart. I was shocked. What a strong pure yang energy! There is no doubt that these rock walls shining with golden red aura are top-notch pure yang materials. This is Shaoyang fire spirit jade, but the quantity is too much. The further down she flew, the more shocked Yan Chixia felt in her heart. Because from the entrance to the bottom of the cave, the surrounding cave walls are all filled with extremely pure Shaoyang fire heart jade. In normal times, such a whole-level pure yang material, even if it is as small as a fingernail, is regarded as a treasure that cannot be exchanged for a lot of money. If it can be the size of an adult's fist, it can be refined into a powerful spiritual treasure. And the quantity here, let alone one spiritual treasure, is more than enough for tens of millions. Turning to the bottom of the cave, a small lake about 40 miles away came into view. In the center of the lake was a small black island about 3 acres in size. Half a lake of starlight lotuses bloomed around the island. In fact, when Su Junming first got this black mountain, the lake and island in the cave were much larger than they are now. However, after 9 years of training, the size of Black Mountain has shrunk by 2/3, and the lakes and islands inside have also shrunk a lot. Yan Chixia flew onto the island. Disciple Yan Chixia, pay homage to Master. Su Junming smiled and nodded. Seeing the aura floating around him, he understood the reason why the 4 disciples came back. Get up. You came back this time to break the situation. Master clearly sees Wanli, and this is exactly what happened. After more than 10 years of practice, Yan Chixia's cultivation has reached the peak of the Yuanying realm. After practicing hard for many years, he was confident that he could survive the catastrophe and advance to the soul level. However, Master Su Junming had repeatedly told him that he was not allowed to go out to survive the tribulation privately, and had to return to Daihuang Mountain. Sensing a slight fluctuation in Yan Chixia's consciousness, he was able to guess the other person's thoughts to some extent as he was proficient in the art of soul and destiny. I know you are confident of overcoming the tribulation and coming back to Daihuang Mountain. Although there is a teleportation array, it will take a lot of time. You have resentment in your heart. Disciples dare not. After interrupting his next words with a wave of his hand, don't you dare? It's normal to have resentment. However, the Yuan Shen heavenly tribulation is no child's play. When I was overcoming the calamity for my master, I was also full of confidence, but in the end I almost died. Under heavenly calamity. In order to make Yan Chixia be more cautious when going through the tribulation, he subconsciously gave an example to himself, and replaced the fact that he had easily survived the tribulation with a lie that he almost failed. Master almost failed. Yan Chixia didn't believe it. Of course, otherwise. Why are there so many people who have stayed in the nascent soul realm for many years and still dare not overcome the tribulation? They are more eager to advance than anyone else. They are just afraid of the catastrophe and dare not act rashly. Yan Chixia nodded. The most widely circulated news in the spiritual world about the heavenly tribulation of the Yuan Shen is that there is only 1 in 100. Among 100 monks who have perfected the nascent soul, only one has the chance to achieve nascent soul. The natural calamity is so difficult that I won't let you go out to survive the calamity. After all, you are all my direct disciples. You are connected to my master by fate, and our friendship is better than that of father and son. If you make any mistakes, my master will be in mourning. Yan Chixia saw what Su Junming said sincerely and was deeply moved in her heart. The love and care of my teacher is better than the sun and the moon. My disciples are grateful and will practice diligently in the future to repay the teacher's kindness. The teachings of master-disciple friendship yielded satisfactory results, and Su Junming couldn't help but smile on his face. With a wave of his sleeve, the magical power caught up with Yan Chixia, urging Hu Tianxian to perform his magic, and the two of them instantly arrived at Taishi Cave's Sky Thunder Peak. Hundreds of acres of hills are covered with purple-black rocks that look like crystals and sparkle with electric light inside. In the past 100 years, this place has been a common place for disciples of Chongshan Academy to escape tribulations. The endless tribulation thunder slowly changed the nature of Zhenlei Peak. It was no longer a simple stone, but a spiritual material with thunder attributes. Although these spiritual materials are only at Dongxian level, they are of little use in Su Junming's eyes. But for many low-level disciples of Chongshan Academy, it is a priceless treasure. Countless disciples of the middle court and the lower court practice hard in order to win the ranking in the annual competition of the whole school, so that they can obtain this spiritual material they call Purple Thunderstone and practice a powerful weapon. A magical weapon with thunder attribute. Yan Chixia is no stranger to Zhenlei Peak. He spent his golden elixir calamity here. When I revisit my old place, I feel the pressure of the primordial tribulation. Su Junming threw a porcelain vase over. There are 2 Tai Shang Qi replenishing pills inside. One pill can replenish 80% of your mana. You can take it at critical moments when your mana is low. Yes, thank you very much, teacher. Su Junming nodded slightly. After adjusting your breath and regaining your energy and spirit, prepare to survive the tribulation. I will protect you. After thanking her, Yan Chixia sat down cross-legged. After adjusting my breath and meditating for half an hour, I felt that my energy had reached its peak. He glanced at his mentor 100 feet away. Su Junming nodded slightly towards him, and Yan Chixia saw it in her eyes. After nodding in greeting, she took a deep breath, no longer suppressing the magic power in her body. Yuan Ying's perfect powerful magic power soared into the sky. In an instant, wind and thunder roared above Zhenlei Peak, and thick dark clouds were galloping over like galloping horses. In just a moment, within a radius of hundreds of miles, the light was dim and there was a chilling air. Although this huge movement did not alarm the main campus of Chongshan Academy, which was thousands of miles away, many nascent soul monks who were retreating in the inner mountain were attracted by it. A purple stream of light, flying like lightning, reached the top of the peak, and the light flashed, revealing a handsome-looking young man wearing black clothing. Behind it, a pair of 3-foot-long iron wings wrapped in wind and thunder aura are particularly eye-catching. Disciple Su Yang pays homage to his mentor. After that, he bowed deeply. Taking a look, this named disciple whom he accepted many years ago has now reached the middle stage of nascent soul. Immediately afterwards, a lame man carrying an iron umbrella and a dashing young woman wearing a blue skirt and a sword on her back appeared on both sides of Su Yang. Li Wubing pays homage to his master, my mentor Wanan. Ji Yao pays homage to the master, my mentor is safe. Li Wubing was the lame man carrying an iron umbrella. After Su Yang, he was the second person among the disciples of Chongshan Academy to break through to the nascent soul. Like Su Yang, he was accepted as a registered disciple by Su Junming. The earth element Taoism is extremely exquisite. The iron umbrella on his back is the four-elephant umbrella that Su Junming practiced, and it is also a high-grade spiritual treasure. Ji Yao is the third person among the disciples of Chongshan Academy to break through the nascent soul. Like Su Yang and Li Wubing, he was accepted as a registered disciple by Su Junming. This woman has practiced water Taoism intensively, and her cultivation has now reached the middle stage of nascent soul. The Qingyuan sword on his back was also a spiritual treasure given by Su Junming. Although there are already more than 10 disciples of Chongshan Academy who have broken through to the nascent soul. But Su Junming only accepted the 3 people who were the first to break through the nascent soul but failed to pass the Earth God Gate test as registered disciples. Su Yang, Li Wubing, and Ji Yao each received a spiritual treasure reward, which stimulated the entire Academy's senior monks to practice hard in order to get ahead of them and break through the spiritual realm so that they could become Su Junming's sect. Even if you fail the test of the Earth God sect, you can enter the Inner Mountain sect to practice even if you are just a registered disciple, and you will also be rewarded with the Hushan talisman. 3 times a month, you can ask Su Junming about your practice problems and have the opportunity to improve your Taoism. And the most precious thing is that you can get a spiritual treasure as a reward. The rich harvest stimulated all those who were a step behind in breaking through the nascent soul. In addition to completing the teaching tasks of the Academy, they spent almost all their time on cultivation. Their hard work also made the leaders Su Yang, Li Wubing, and Ji Yao feel even more pressure. The complacency and pride that followed the successful apprenticeship completely disappeared. If you have all the advantages, you will be surpassed by others. As long as their dream of becoming the teacher's direct disciples is really just a dream. Su Junming, who introduced the competition mechanism, is also very satisfied with the cultivation atmosphere of chasing each other. As his own orthodox school, Chongshan Academy is full of vigor and vitality, and it is his goal to continuously produce more talents. If it were a pool of stagnant water, it would defeat his original intention. In addition, after leading Chongshan Academy for so many years, he found that these Academy disciples had already embarked on a new path based on what he taught. Although the Taoist insights and experiences they summarized were not very profound, they could bring him inspiration and increase his understanding of the Tao. This was undoubtedly a welcome change that was beyond his expectation. He looked at the 3 of them. Yes, your cultivation has improved a lot compared to last time. It's all thanks to the teachings of my mentor. After smiling faintly, he stretched out his hand and pointed to the left side. You guys should also come and take a look. Although it is your senior brother Yan who is going through the heavenly tribulation this time, the Yuan Shen heavenly tribulation is also a difficulty you will face in the future. The 3 of them nodded, walked to Su Junming's left side and sat down cross-legged. At this moment, the first thunderstorm had hit Yan Chixia directly. He was an expert in swordsmanship, but without taking off the sword box from his back, he waved his hand and 100-foot sword energy shot up into the sky. The sword energy was so sharp that it cut Lei Lei into 2 pieces in an instant. Senior brother Yan has such a strong sword energy, Ji Yao exclaimed. Although her Qingyuan sword is a magic sword and not a flying sword, in order to exert the power of this magic sword, she often practices swordsmanship. Therefore, compared to Su Yang and Li Wubing, she understands the level of Yan Chixia's swordsmanship better. Su Yang frowned slightly and stared closely at Yan Chixia, who stood tall and tall under the thunder. As the first disciple of Chongshan Academy to join Su Junming's sect, he has always been extremely envious of Yan Chixia, who passed the Earth God Sect's test, even with a hint of jealousy. Deep down in my heart I also have thoughts of comparison. If I can become Master Su's direct disciple, and have enough spiritual elixir support, I may not be inferior to him. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 471. In the blink of an eye, 6 thunderbolts passed by. For these 6 thunderbolts, Yan Chixia did not use her spiritual treasure. It wasn't until the 7th 21-foot purple thunder struck down that Yan Chixia patted the sword box behind her back. Choke. The sword roared like a dragon's roar, and a bright yellow 3-foot magic sword soared into the sky. This is the natal spiritual sword Xian Yuan sword that Su Junming practiced for him. Because the grade is too high, Yan Chixia rarely uses it. Flying dragon sword style. The brilliant sword light turned into a 1,000-foot sword light, as straight as a line, rising into the sky. The powerful thunder tribulation, under the sharp sword light, was like soft butter, being cut in half in an instant. The power of the forked thunder was greatly reduced, and it fell unwillingly on the rocks of Zhenli Peak, and finally died. Master, this swordsmanship is so powerful. Li Wubing looked solemn. Su Junming looked at Yan Chixia, who was waiting in midair, and smiled. This is a sword scripture that you, senior brother Yan, got by chance. It is called Xian Yuan 9 Swords. It is extremely exquisite. Xian Yuan 9 Swords, Su Yang whispered. After looking at him, Su Junming smiled and said nothing. Of course he understood Su Yang's fighting spirit clearly. However, he never interfered with the healthy competition among his disciples. Flying Phoenix sword style. A red, flat streak stretched hundreds of miles across, like the sword energy of a flying phoenix, soaring into the sky. White tiger sword style. It is more than 300 feet long and 200 feet wide, like a giant tiger, with an extremely strong sword energy following closely behind. 2 swords in a row, the tyrannical sword energy was like a giant wave thousands of meters high, one after another, colliding with the thunder calamity. The powerful black cloud in the sky was cut in half with the sword energy behind it. The hot sunlight shines through the broken hole and shines on Yan Chixia, making him extremely dazzling against his tall stature. Su Junming had a smile on his face. It seems that the elixir I gave him is no longer useful. He was very satisfied with the performance of his direct disciple. My years of teaching are not in vain. Su Yang, Li Wubing, and Ji Yao looked at the scene in front of them in shock. In their eyes, the last 2 thunderbolts, which were almost irresistible, were actually cut through by Yan Chixia's 2 swords. Even if the opponent's cultivation level is nascent soul perfection, his swordsmanship cultivation level is really amazing. Looking at Yan Chixia 100 feet away, surrounded by flying swords, her sword intent soaring into the sky, and her imposing momentum, the 3 of them showed solemn looks on their faces. Although they are a little unconvinced, those who can pass the test of the Earth God sect and be accepted as direct disciples by their teachers will indeed surpass them in abilities. Yan Chixia took a deep breath. At this moment, he was not as calm as he looked, even though the 2 swords broke all the thunder tribulations. But half of the mana in Danshan was also lost. There are also fire and wind tribulations behind. It's far from time to relax. Fortunately, there were still a few minutes between the catastrophes, which was enough for him to recover some of his lost mana. His eyes quickly glanced at Su Junming and the 3 junior brothers. I think after this move, as a senior brother, I should have established enough authority. Although they haven't said hello yet, the scrutiny in the eyes of Su Yang and others is undisguised. After the thunder tribulation, there is the fire tribulation, and after the fire tribulation, there is the wind tribulation. Yan Chixia responded calmly. Although it was not as shocking as the 2 thunder-breaking tribulations, she still showed a certain calmness. Behind the calmness is great confidence in one's own strength. 3 calamities of wind, fire, and thunder have passed. A strong innate Taoist creation fundamental energy was poured into Yan Chixia's body from Ming Ming. The latter's aura instantly strengthened. Waves of tyrannical sword energy spilled out of the body. The sound of choking swords grew from small to loud, and soon enveloped the land thousands of miles away. Deep envy can be seen in the eyes of Su Yang and the other three. Yuan Shen, that is the realm they have been waiting for a long time. More and more sword energy flew out of Yan Xixia's body, and the dense sword energy gathered together and turned into a sky-high sword that was 1,000 feet high and 100 feet wide, similar to the Xian Yuan sword. Every bit of sword energy in the giant sword reveals amazing sword intent. Soul. Su Junming clearly understood that this giant sword was Yan Xixia's soul. All sword cultivators are basically like this. Chi-Chi, the sword energy flew, and the giant sword transformed into Yan Xixia's appearance. After a moment of pause, it quickly shrank and transformed again into the original figure, who was nearly 7 feet tall, with a full beard, a Xian Yuan sword on her back, a black robe, and a heroic temperament. Appearance. Shua. Without any gesture, the person had already arrived in front of Su Junming. He paid homage with great ceremony and looked excited. Master, this disciple has finally advanced to the level of Yuan Shen. In the past, among Su Junming's many disciples, except for Qin Zhong and Lin Zhengying in the Chinese world, he had the lowest cultivation level. Qiao Shaoxin and Su Huang are both Yuan Shen. In order to catch up with his senior sister and junior sister, he had turned a deaf ear to foreign affairs for the past 10 years and concentrated on hiding in Lanruo Temple and practicing hard. Now all the hard work has finally paid off. Su Junming looked at his fourth disciple with satisfaction. You can achieve what you have now, and I am happy for you as a teacher. But you should remember that the soul is just another starting point for practice. Above this, there are immortals. Among the immortals, there are even higher true immortals. Golden Immortal. You should guard against arrogance and impetuosity, never forget your original intention, and practice hard. Yes, disciples must remember their teacher's teachings, guard against arrogance and impetuosity, and practice hard. He nodded with satisfaction. Get up. Yan Xixia kowtowed before standing up. These three are the three named disciples I mentioned to you before. Su Yang, Li Wubing, and Ji Yao. Su Yang, Li Wubing, and Ji Yao meet senior brother Yan. Yan Xixia has met 3 junior brothers and junior sisters. The status of a named disciple is not as good as that of a direct disciple, so even if you start early, you must still treat yourself as a senior. After the 4 people greeted each other. Xixia, you have just made a breakthrough, which is when your cultivation is advancing rapidly. Go to my Taiyuan cave to retreat for 3 months. After sorting out what you have learned, you can meet me at Chongshan residence. Yes. Yan Xixia also knew her situation and was not polite. He bowed, nodded to Su Yang and the others, and then disappeared in front of everyone. When the matter ended, Su Junming originally planned to leave. However, looking at the expectant looks in the eyes of the 3 named disciples, he couldn't bear to leave him like this. Although he is only a registered disciple, he is still a disciple after all, and he cannot really ignore him. He simply spent half a month on the top of Zhenli Peak, answering some questions in their practice, and then left after giving a good lecture. After returning to Chongshan residence, I checked the elixirs refined in the Tiangong furnace, and then went to the spirit island in the creation pond in the backyard to check the growth of many spiritual roots and elixirs. In the past 9 years, he spent most of his time training his body, cultivating his magic power, and practicing Taiyuan cave. He spent very little time in this Chongshan residence. However, the few ginseng and Ganoderma lucidum dolls were very conscientious and managed the many spiritual roots and elixirs in the creation spirit island in an orderly manner. I sat down in the lakeside pavilion created by the creation spirit pond and looked at the 5 creation white lotuses and 1 Bodhi golden lotus in the pond. After thinking for a moment, I spread my left hand. A branch emerged from the palm of his hand. This branch is 3 feet high, with 9 branches in total, and its olive bark is covered with tortoise shell-like textures. 197 green, maple-like leaves cover it. The extremely pure GMO spiritual energy is wrapped around it. This is the spiritual root he took from a snake. To be precise, this is a branch of an innate spiritual root, and there is a semi-innate Taishi GMO root energy in it. It is precisely because of the existence of this semi-spiritual energy that Shi can drive it to block Yimen Huangliang, which is no worse than a low-grade immortal weapon. Touching the smooth fracture on the branch, I wonder where the remaining innate spiritual roots are. From a snake's memory, the remaining innate spiritual roots, especially the whereabouts of the taproot, were not found, and their name and efficacy were not known. Stroking its slightly rough branches, Su Junming thought greedily, if I could have an innate spiritual root in my hand, I would never be able to heal from the Dharma-ending age again. The greatest function of the innate spiritual root is to sort out the turbidity. As long as there is an innate spiritual root to suppress it, you will never have to worry about having no spiritual energy to support you. This shows how precious it is. After secretly expecting for a while, Su Junming suddenly slapped his thigh. Why did you forget it? He stretched out his hand and the object that had been placed in the innermost layer of the treasure room instantly flew into his palm. This is a basketball-sized, olive-shaped black seed with pitted surfaces. In the world of Uncle Ju, it was Chen Lin's apprenticeship gift to Su Junming. As a result, Su Junming failed to find his reincarnation in the world of Uncle Ju for many years. The matter of becoming a disciple has been postponed to this day, but nothing has come of it. But this kind of child is extraordinary, absorbing spiritual energy from the underworld every moment. But after so many years, it shows no sign of breaking out of its shell. The most important thing is that even the invincible bronze mirror cannot see through its shell and peek into the truth inside. Therefore, Su Junming has always guessed that this is an incredible innate spiritual root. But over the years, he was never able to confirm his suspicions. Subconsciously, he brought the twig closer to the black seeds. There was no response for a while. Just when Su Junming was disappointed, the black race finally made some movement. A line as thick as an adult's finger, mysterious and unpredictable, like a dark green spiritual light containing endless power, stretched out from the shell like a spiritual snake, and just touched the small branch lightly. All the innate Taishi GMO fundamental energy of the latter was released. Devoured. Under Su Junming's expectant eyes, the black man quickly regained his composure. As time went on, expectations turned into disappointment. This is a half-innate Taishi GMO fundamental energy. You can at least make some noise after eating. Before the voice of complaint could be finished, a strong warning suddenly hit my heart. As soon as the blue color changes, he immediately retreats. His eyes were fixed on the black man floating in the air. Visible to the naked eye, a trace of light gray gas the size of a human hair emerged from the darkness and was swallowed by the black species. With the blessing of the bronze mirror, Su Junming, whose 5 senses were sharper, soon discovered that after swallowing the gray gas as thin as a hair, the black aura became stronger. What exactly is this gray gas? He had never seen any record of it in any ancient book. However, the moment this gray gas appears, the spiritual sense will warn you. As if it contained endless dangers. Looking at it with a bronze mirror, he only found that it contained a huge energy that was difficult for him to understand. Just a trace of it is better than an innate Taishi aura. In terms of mana, this trace of gray gas contains all the mana of a mysterious immortal. Xianxian is second only to golden immortal, better than heavenly immortal and true immortal. After more than a month, Su Junming found out how often this gray gas appeared. It basically appeared once every 3 days. Even so, the result of this black seed devouring all the mana of a mysterious immortal in 3 days still shocked him inexplicably. Looking at the olive-shaped black species floating in the air, there was still no big change. I don't know what grade of innate spiritual root it is, but it has such a powerful power. I was filled with anticipation and apprehension. After shaking his head to calm down his unnecessary thoughts, Su Junming did not put it back into the treasure house. The energy in that gray gas is really amazing. If something unexpected happens, I'm afraid all my collections will be destroyed by it. Of course, this pool of creation is not suitable either. Think left and right. Let's put it in Taiyuan Cave. It's more hidden there. Taiyuan Cave is his retreat, with many restrictions. When Yan Chixia came out of seclusion, no one was going there except herself. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 472. Chapter 465, Pull out the locking sword. Yan Chixia stayed in seclusion for nearly half a year before she came out. The two masters and disciples sat cross-legged on the enlightenment stage in Taiyuan Cave. The enlightenment platform is the black stone platform in the center of the lake at the bottom of Taiyuan Cave. Now that you have become a spirit, what are your next plans? Will you go back to your Lanruo temple to live in seclusion? Yan Chixia shook her head. Now that my cultivation level has stabilized, I won't be able to achieve a breakthrough for a while, so Lanruo temple is not planning to go back for the time being. After a pause and some thought, he said, I plan to go west, cross the Hualuo Desert, and visit Daki. Daki? Why not in Daong? Earlier, Master swept away the Black Heart Demon sect, and you wiped out all the demons and monsters in the south of the Yangtze River. You destroyed the Longjiang Shui tribe more than 10 years ago, and all the demons near Longjiang were wiped out. Although the people of Daong have been in chaos over the years and the people are in dire straits, the practice community has benefited from Master's actions to eliminate demons and has been very peaceful. Disciples who want to accumulate merit have to go far away. Why not go to Daong North? All the demons there were destroyed by third senior sister. Yan Chixia said helplessly. Su Junming smiled lightly. Although Qiao Shaoxin has a kind heart, the objects of his kindness are those people who have no evil deeds. Regarding demons and ghosts, this third disciple inherited Su Junming's temperament of hating evil and slaying them all. Coupled with the fact that she advanced to the realm of Yuan Shen earlier than Yan Chixia, and the unreasonable power of the Tao of creation, she wiped out all the demons in the entire northern provinces of Daong. Of course, Qiao Shaoxin's ruthless behavior also made many sects dissatisfied, but no one dared to speak out. Without him, the Chongshan lineage would be too powerful. Needless to say, as the founder, Su Junming destroyed the Black Mountain Demon sect, exterminated the Longjiang Shui tribe, and countless other demons, big and small, died at his hands. The third disciple, Qiao Shaoxin, was already famous before he advanced to Yuan Shen. After entering the rank of Yuan Shen 6 years ago, her reputation as Fairy Kongsang has become even more popular. The fourth disciple, Yan Chixia, was the only disciple who entered Zhongzhou when she became a disciple. Although she has been practicing hard at Lanruo Temple in recent years. But occasionally he would go down the mountain to slay demons. In Huedong province where Lanruo Temple is located, both good and evil worshipped under his Xianyuan sword. Although the bearded swordsman is not as famous as Fairy Kongsang, he is still famous. Fifth disciple Su Huang, during the battle with the Longjiang Shui tribe, the cold air surged under Dong Hua's fan, and he shocked the entire cultivation world as soon as he debuted. Now he has established a dojo at Lanyu Mountain outside Jinhua County. Adhering to Neishi's nature of slaying demons and eliminating evil, Jiangnan province, where Jinhua County is located, and even the entire southeastern provinces were shrouded in the terrifying cold wave of the Ice Phoenix Fairy. The three disciples of this master are either Yuan Shen or have Yuan Shen level combat power, and each of them has a lot of spiritual treasures and no shortage of elixirs. It can be called the largest force in the spiritual world. Therefore, even the once great sects such as Kunlun, Suanjingsi, and Bema Temple did not dare to provoke the Chongshan lineage. The entire Daong is now shrouded under the increasing pressure of the Chongshan lineage, especially those demons and monsters. Although they cannot be said to be extinct, almost most of them above the nascent soul have been killed. Such an environment that can be called peaceful naturally does not please Yan Shixia. Because of the flexibility, convenience, and power of the supreme spell to avert sins and kill demons and protect the body, he was particularly in need of merit. With his heroic temperament, he really couldn't do this elaborate method of accumulating merit by treating illnesses, saving lives, and relieving the poor. It is best to kill demons and eliminate demons in a pain-free, straightforward manner. Therefore, the peaceful Daong is not the most suitable place to visit. Since you have chosen the place to travel, I will not interfere with you. Opening his palm, a black jade talisman emerged. This is the soul protection talisman that I practiced. It can resist all kinds of illusions, curses, and sound attacks targeting the soul. Keep it. Su Junming has repeatedly used the soul falling technique to kill the ancient relics in the East China Sea. Except for the case of Ba Snake, he has almost always been unfavorable. He uses himself to save others, and he is also afraid that others will use this method to target his disciples. Therefore, special talismans for protection were practiced to protect the soul. Master, isn't it enough to suppress the spiritual treasure? Bronze mirrors can break illusions and protect the soul. Even if it is just a phantom, it has this effect. The art of the soul is extremely weird, and the devil is especially good at it. To be safe, it's better to make more preparations. Yan Shixia nodded and took the talisman with both hands. Thank you very much for the treasure, my mentor. After waving his hand, he said, by the way, what happened to the innate God that was entrusted to you? The spiritual intelligence is already as different as that of a 3 or 4-year-old child. It is estimated that he will be able to transform in a few years. Look at the smile on Yan Shixia's face. Haha, now you know the benefits of having a disciple, right? Cultivation is an extremely lonely and difficult thing. Having a direct disciple who depends on you for blessings and misfortunes can at least prevent you from losing your humanity and becoming a person after practicing for thousands of years. Those so-called immortals and Buddhas who are aloof and scheming all day long. What Master said is absolutely true. What you pursue in cultivating immortals is the great road, and what you cultivate is the principles of life, rather than simply becoming a Buddha and becoming an ancestor. Haha, that's right. I am of the mountain ancestral lineage. What I want is to follow my heart. What I want to do is to be a human being with warmth and warmth. I am definitely not a god or Buddha who forgets his feelings and his nature. After saying that, he looked at Yan Shixia and said with a smile, if you like a girl in the future, you can take her as a Taoist companion. The bearded Yan Shixia looked embarrassed and waved her hands hurriedly. Master, please spare me. It's okay to accept a few disciples. If you want to marry a wife, forget it. Women are too troublesome. Haha, don't let your 3rd and 5th senior sisters hear what you said, otherwise they will have to fight with you forever. Yan Shixia had a bitter look on her face. These 2 senior sisters and junior sisters were both higher in cultivation than him, and she felt really unwilling to do so. Su Junming changed the topic after laughing. The master and apprentice chatted for a while, and then Yan Shixia left. Peace returned to Taiyuan Cave again. With a wave of his hand, olive-shaped black seeds flew out after being stored in the space of the Taoist robe. After a moment of consciousness, he reached out and pointed, and a black passage appeared on the stage of enlightenment. After the seeds flew in, they disappeared, and the small space passage also disappeared. When he first obtained this black mountain, the bottom of the lake used to be a channel leading to the wider East China Sea. Later, during the Black Mountain ceremony, most of this passage disappeared, leaving only about half an acre of space under the Enlightenment platform. Originally, Su Junming's plan was to practice space Taoism, so that he could put some things away at ordinary times. Now his plan has come true. After putting the black seeds away and sitting in silence for a while, Su Junming let out a long sigh. After 9 years of delay, it's time to take the final step. He took a step forward and returned to a secret room carved out separately in Chongshan residence. In the center of the huge space, there lay a giant corpse with a bull-headed body, 6 arms on its back, and a silver-white giant sword pierced through its broad chest. Looking at it, Su Junming's eyes revealed a hint of solemnity and expectation. This time we must succeed. He stretched out his hand and made a move, and the netherworld bone flag, which could not be repaired by 90%, flew into his palm. Take a deep breath, change the gestures in the palms of the hands, step on the steel with your feet, and mutter words in your mouth. Disciple Su Junming, I would like to invite the Holy Emperor Guan to come to me. I am as urgent as the law. The moment Su Junming completed the seal formation, which had not been used for a long time, the unimaginable power of heaven and earth poured into his body like a tide. His physical body has reached the perfection of the Tiangang realm of martial arts and can already carry the magic power of the immortal level. As the power of heaven and earth increased, Su Junming's physical body expanded as if he was blowing up a balloon. Almost in the blink of an eye, his body reached nearly 1,000 feet. But this is not the end. After crossing the limit of 1,000 feet, he clearly felt that he had entered an indescribable, mysterious, and powerful realm. Is this what it feels like to be immortal? At this moment, it seems that he only needs to move his hands to open up the world and change the color of the world. He was obsessed with this power, how powerful it was. Even though it was only available temporarily and only for 10 minutes, he still enjoyed it very much. I'm not at my limit yet. Although my body was extremely heavy, I didn't feel any pain. Suppressing the desire to continue to use strength, he shook the equally tall netherworld white bone flag in his hand. In an instant, the essence of the bones began to boil. 9 giant arms of white bones flew out of the huge banner, as big as mountains. 5 of them grabbed the hilt of the Suoshen sword, and the remaining 4 held down the giant corpse. Exhale loudly. Wake it up for me. Boom, the sudden explosion of force shook the entire space. The silver-white locking divine sword was pulled up bit by bit under the powerful force that Su Junming unleashed with the help of the netherworld bone flag. Choke, as the Suoshen sword moved upwards, the sound of the chains shaking became more intense. Gradually, thousands of chains emerged from the void. Each of these iron ropes are more than 10 feet thick, and they are tightly entangled between the divine locking sword and the giant corpse, making it difficult to separate. Damn it, I can't even pull it out if I don't believe it. Su Junming gritted his teeth and activated the Shen de Zhenju again. More power from heaven and earth rushed in. His body quickly grew to 1,500 feet, and then became slower and slower. When he reached 1,700 feet, a tearing pain quickly filled his heart. My body seemed to be filled with lead, extremely heavy. I know I've reached my limit. Su Junming ignored the pain because he knew that the ultimate state of the Shen de Zhenju was very short-lived. If he could not grasp it, it might take him half a year or even longer to use it again. Seeing the divine locking sword bursting with spiritual light, Su Junming's veins bulged high on his forehead and he drank loudly. Wake it up for me. The brilliance of the nether bone flag skyrocketed. The strength on Baigu's arm instantly increased dozens of times. Bang bang was heard repeatedly, and the already stretched chain quickly broke. Soon, all the outermost chains were broken, leaving only the last 5 and thickest chains still holding on. These 5 chains penetrated the head, torso, 2 thickest arms, and 2 thighs respectively. A strong pulling force followed the nether bone flag and entered Su Junming's body. It seemed that what was connected to that end was not a corpse, but a huge mountain that was difficult to shake. The severe pain in his body and the strong chains made Su Junming think about giving up. Sweat has blurred his eyes. No. No, if we give up now, all our efforts will be wasted. Ah! With the last shout of exerting all his strength, countless blood pillars flew out from his pores. Boom, 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 5 times in a row. The last 5 chains were instantly broken. After losing his balance, Su Junming couldn't hold back his strength and flew backwards in an instant. He fell heavily to the ground, covered in blood, and his chest rose and fell rapidly. It was obvious that the consumption of drawing the sword this time was too great. Ha ha, ha ha ha. Suddenly, he burst out laughing wildly. The tone was full of joy, even madness. He hadn't been this embarrassed in many years. Along with the violent coughing, the laughter subsided, and Su Junming, who slowly calmed down, sat up slowly. Feeling the terrible situation inside his body, a bitter look appeared on his face. Without 2 or 3 years of rest, there is no way to recover. This time, in order to pull out the locking divine sword, his body was severely injured by the divine art. Although it was not as good as when he killed the Dragon Emperor in the Jushu world, it was not much better. But it's all worth it. He stretched out his hand and a 3-foot-long, silver-white sword flew into his palm. Su Junming whirled with affection. From the memory of the old demon from Black Mountain, I learned that this divine locking sword is an authentic and top-grade fairy weapon. The level is equivalent to that of the Netherworld Bone Flag, but its power is even higher. And compared to the latter, it is a complete top-grade immortal weapon. Because the grade is high enough, even though it has been in the Liuzai world for thousands of years, its grade has not dropped. It is just because of the lack of spiritual energy that its power is not as powerful as it was when it was perfect. Even so, Su Junming had to use the Nether Bone Flag to break the seal mainly set on the body of the 3 corpses of the old demon from Black Mountain, the Soul Witch General. Su Junming had reason to feel lucky. If this world hadn't been too far away from the old world of the Black Mountain demon, Chixian Shenzhou, and if there was no one in charge of the locking divine sword, he would never have thought of breaking the seal and getting the sword. But compared to this sword, what he missed most was the body of the old Black Mountain demon next to him. Suppress all thoughts in your heart for now. It's better to repair my damaged body first. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 473. Chapter 466, The Disaster of the Fu Family. Although the room is not too big, it is simple but extremely exquisitely decorated. The chairs woven from yellow bamboo, the neatly arranged desks, and the vases placed on the windowsill are all spotless. Well. With a faint sigh, a beautiful woman with a stunning appearance, sitting cross-legged on a futon next to her, wearing a white dress, her black hair tied up by a white hairband, hanging casually on the back of her head, slowly opened her eyes. Head. It seems that if you want to break through the 5th level of the Golden Core Realm, you still need to practice for a while. Before he could finish talking to himself, there was a rapid knock on the door. Sister, sister, open the door quickly. The crisp sound, like an aureole coming out of the valley, made the beautiful woman's face show a hint of endearment. She made a few seals with her hands, shot it in the air, and the door was opened instantly. A woman wearing a purple sword uniform and deerskin boots, with an elf in her expression, walked in like flying. Yuechi, what's the matter? You're so irritable. Sister, look. Fu Yuechi took out a blue-white talisman from the magic bag as if offering a treasure. The moment it appeared, a strong cold air filled the room. Have you drawn the cold moon talisman? Seeing the surprise on her sister's face, Fu Yuechi's big bright eyes instantly narrowed, with a look of color on her face. He, I succeeded this morning. Fu Qingfeng fondly touched her black hair. Although Fu Qingfeng had understood this magic talisman that could only be drawn by the perfect Golden Core Realm half a month ago, She did not intend to use her achievements to disturb her sister's interest. Yuechi is really awesome, can you teach me some lessons later? No problem, I'll cover it. Fu Yuechi patted his already plump chest, his tone full of pride. The breeze, the moon pool, I have always worshipped the mountains. A cool and majestic voice sounded in their ears. Master told us to leave quickly. Fu Qingfeng pulled Fu Yuechi, and the two sisters activated the magic talisman, and instantly left Su Wang's cave heaven Dharma realm and arrived at Chongshan residence in Lanyu Mountain. When Su Junming was here, he defeated Xinming Sheni, the leader of the Bodhi courtyard of the White Horse Temple, in a battle of wits, took over this lower courtyard, and renamed it Chongshan Residence. This place has always been named Chongshan Residence. Even though Su Huang later regarded this place as his dojo, he did not change the name Kongshanju. Holding the jade talisman, he came to the backyard of Chongshan Residence, opened the door and entered the house. Su Huang, who was dressed in a white dress and had a cold expression, sat on top of the throne. Next to her, a middle-aged woman in a red dress sat at the bottom. The Fu sisters came in and were about to meet their mentor, but when they saw the middle-aged woman, they were instantly surprised. The spirited and lively Fu Yuechi immediately shouted, "Grandma Xia, why are you here?" Xia Yun's Hang looked kind. She had a special relationship with the Fu family. When she was in Shijiang City, she had always stayed by Fu Tianku's side to relieve him of the cold. Later, when Su Junming took action and drained Fu Tianku's innate Taishi ice basic qi from his body, curing his cold illness, Xia Yun's Hang left the Fu family and returned to Yunling Mountain to practice Taoism. Yunling Mountain is a large mountain in the middle of Daong. It is the foundation of the Yunling Mountain line. Although it is not as good as Kunlun, Bema Temple, and other large sects that have Yuan-Shen monks to suppress, it is still a superior sect with spiritual treasures and 8 Yuanying monks. The sect has extraordinary strength. Although she has left this world, Xia Yun's Hang still goes back to Xia's house several times a year to visit Fu Yun and Fu Tiankai, whom she has known since she was a child. After the Fu sisters were born, they were even more in love with each other. If Su Junming hadn't already booked the Xia sisters as her disciples, she would have sent them to Yunling Mountain to become her disciples. Therefore, the Fu sisters have great love and respect for Grandma Xia, who has loved them very much since childhood. Grandma misses you two ghosts, and it just so happened that she came over to have a look. Fu Tianzhou, the father of the Fu sisters, calls Xia Yun's Hang Aunt Wei. As daughters, they naturally have to be called Grandma. Fu Qingfeng and Fu Yuechi glanced at their master. The past teachings made them dare not be presumptuous, otherwise they would lose etiquette and would be scolded. After the ceremony, you can go down first. I still have something to say to you, Grandma Xia, and you can meet again after we finish talking, Su Huang said. When the Fu sisters heard this, they didn't dare to say anything more. After saying yes respectfully, he turned around and walked out. Watching their figures leave, the smile on Xia Yunchang's face slowly faded, and a ray of sadness appeared in its place. Fellow Taoist Su, are you really not going to tell them? Although in secular terms, Su Huang, as the master of Fu Qingfeng and Fu Yuechi, is a generation younger than Xia Yun's Hang. But the status of Yuan Shendaxio is extremely respected in the spiritual world. Therefore, discussing friendship as equals has become the most reasonable choice for both parties. Su Huang shook his head. The disaster of the Fu family was caused by Imperial Master Daong. That was a powerful monster whose cultivation had reached the peak of Yuan Shen. Even I am no match for him, let alone them. And if they knew that the entire Fu family was imprisoned this time, I'm afraid Qingfeng would lose their cool because of King Feng's temperament. Otherwise they would lose their composure and do something that would cause them to lose their composure, so it would be better not to tell them. Xia Yun's Hang nodded in agreement and hesitated for a moment. Fellow Taoist Su, may I ask if the master is here? He has always been jealous of evil. If he comes forward, the master will definitely kill him. My master traveled to the East China Sea, and I'm afraid he's already in the outer sea now. Out to sea? Xia Yunzhang was shocked. Although she has never been to the East China Sea, she has heard from many people that it is an extremely harsh restricted area for monks. It is hundreds of thousands of feet high, with huge waves as big as mountains and giant mountains, and weapons that are stronger than steel knives. The sharp hurricane blocked the footsteps of almost all explorers. No one can enter unless they are Yuan-Shen monks. Of course, with Chongshan Master Su Junming's ability, he would definitely be able to get in. Thinking of this, Xia Yunzhang calmed down the surprise in her heart. When will the master come back? I'm not very sure either. Su Huang shook his head. When I returned to Daihuang Mountain a month ago, master was still in retreat, and Daihuang Mountain was still above the sea in the East China Sea. Isn't there no one who can control the demon monk Kuashi? Fellow Taoists, Xia, don't worry. When my master left, he left behind a backup. Once trouble arises, the demon monk will definitely be killed, Su Huang said confidently. She once mentioned to her master the matter of getting rid of Sahangpudu, but her master replied that he had already dealt with it and told her not to worry about it. In this case, Su Huang didn't ask any more questions. She is extremely confident in her master's cultivation and methods. Since the master said it can be solved, it can definitely be solved. Although Xia Yunzhang wanted to ask what backup Su Junming had left behind, she thought that such a thing must be extremely secretive, and she was not a disciple of the Chongshan lineage, so she thought about it and finally did not speak. Zhongzhou City, as the imperial capital of Daong dynasty, is still as prosperous as before. However, due to the stupidity of the current emperor, the hungry people in Daong who could not survive began to rise up. From north to south, more than a dozen provinces are engulfed in war. The displaced people turned into beggars and wandered everywhere. As the imperial capital, Zhongzhou City also became the place with the largest number of hungry people. From every city gate to every street, almost everything was filled with hungry people. Tianmen Mountain, a hilltop located 30 miles outside Zhongzhou City, had become popular for a while when Su Junming recruited disciples here. Later, someone built a Taoist temple here. However, the good times did not last long, as Su Junming disappeared. Tianmen, which has few historical sites and beautiful scenery, has seen fewer and fewer tourists. Especially after an unknown fire burned down the Taoist temple 3 years ago, no one came here at all. The mountain behind Tianmen Mountain is a rocky beach. Beyond the rocky beach, there is a short hill similar to Tianmen Mountain, no more than 100 meters high. The earth and rocks are intertwined, with some weeds and vines growing there, making it look desolate. However, this place, which was not suitable for development into farmland, became a mass grave for the poor people of Zhongzhou City. There are many cemeteries in the valley behind Tianmen Mountain and in the valleys connected to it. Usually, except for the burial of dead people or the Qingming festival, almost no one comes here. But what is surprising is that in such a remote place, there are 3 huts, standing tenaciously on the top of a low hill. The huts have loess walls, thatched roofs, and fences forming a yard. They look no different from the folk huts in Daong. The yard was kept very tidy, with bluestone paved ground, not much soil visible, and few farm tools around. It didn't look like a farmyard. Moreover, the courtyard was so quiet that it felt scary. If this place wasn't clean and tidy, one would think it was haunted at first glance. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 474. Outside the ordinary thatched house, a slightly winding dirt road connects to the foot of the mountain. Because few people come here, the originally solid road surface has been invaded by stubborn weeds. The sun rises 3 poles high, and the hot sun shines down in the morning, making the mountains full of life in early summer. Second brother, I heard that Taoist master Long in Yazhuang has a straight face all day long, is cold, and is a bit unhuman. We have prepared these $2, will he help us? The speaker was a man wearing a patched green cloth shorts. He was quite strong, but his exposed skin was extremely dark. He was obviously a farm man who was often exposed and did manual labor. In front of him was a young man wearing a shabby blue gown and a somewhat bookish look on his body. This gentleman also has a worried look on his face now. Uncle Liu's house was haunted the year before last. Wasn't it Taoist Master Long who saved it? And it only cost him 1 liter of rice, which is much cheaper than that of Goddess Lu in Wajia town, 30 miles away. The strong black man nodded in agreement, and then sighed. In recent years, there have been more and more evil people in our village. The scholar's face showed anger. The traitorous party in the DPRK deceived the saints and controlled the country's affairs, so that the officialdom was dark, hungry people were everywhere, and the local area was in chaos. As a result, the dead were countless. In this way, the place was infested with ghosts and demons, and the common people like us suffered a lot suffering. The dark, muscular man has never read a book and does not care about national affairs. Oh, I don't know when this kind of day will end. As long as the emperor is still here, I believe there will be a day when chaos can be brought back to order, the scholar affirmed. While the two were talking, they had already walked around the foot of the mountain and walked up the dirt road up the mountain, 1 step deeper and 1 step shallower. The mountain is not high, and we reached the top of the mountain in less than half an hour. Looking at the word Yizhuang written in black handwriting on the rough plaque above the wooden door in front of him, with a faint mottled look, the man from Heizhuang showed joy on his face. Second brother, we are here. He quickly grabbed him and said, Third brother, Taoist Master Long is an outsider and cannot make mistakes. After that, he sorted out the green gown with 3 patches piled up, walked to the door, cupped his fists in salute, and said respectfully, Lu Shigi of King He village asks to see Taoist Master Long. The 3 huts were quiet and half silent. Second brother, is the Taoist priest not at home? The strong black man stepped forward and whispered. Lu Shigi frowned slightly and looked subconsciously into the courtyard. Just when he was hesitating to go into the yard and call closer, there was a squeak and the originally closed wood door opened. A Taoist priest, about 14 or 15 years old, wearing a black Taoist robe and wearing a green gourd, with a cold expression, opened the door and walked out. This person is the Dragon Emperor, the incarnation of Su Junming's Fui soul. Following Su Junming's instructions, he stayed in seclusion in the mountains behind Tianmen Mountain outside Zhongzhou City. Feeling that there were many dead people and ghosts in this mass grave, he built this charity village. While suppressing the place, he also accumulated some merits. Over the years, although he did not become more prominent, he still accumulated quite a reputation in the surrounding villages and towns. The number of people who encountered dirty things today and begged him to rescue them became more and more as the situation in Daong dynasty became chaotic. Second brother, Master Long is so young, the strong black man said subconsciously. It's not surprising that most cultivators are good at keeping their appearance. But when you meet for a while, remember not to be rude. After saying that, the young scholar quickly passed through the opened courtyard door and came to the courtyard. He walked to a stand 3 feet away from the Dragon Emperor, rolled up his sleeves and bowed. Lu Shigi pays homage to the Taoist priest Jinan. Lu Sanlang pays homage to the Taoist priest. The strong black man followed Lu Shigi awkwardly and saluted. After nodding slightly. No need to be polite, you came to see Pandeo, why are you here? Replying to the Taoist priest, Zhou Jing returned to her parents' home 3 days ago. She was a little late when she came home. As a result, she encountered something dirty. She yelled all day long and didn't think about food and drink. She was getting thinner and thinner. Her life was in danger. Lu had no choice but to come here specially. Please, Taoist priest, come down from the mountain and save the life of my clumsy thorn. After speaking, his face looked miserable, with faint tears, as if he was extremely sad. However, this person's little thoughts cannot be hidden from him. He just wants to spend less money. The Dragon Emperor didn't take it seriously either, he was just too poor to make a fuss. Pandeo agreed to what you said. With a casual wave of their hands, Lu Shigi and Lu Sanlang felt a lightness under their feet, and the wind whistled in their ears. Only when the scenery before them became real and their feet stepped firmly again did they realize that they had arrived at the entrance of the village. Looking at the familiar village in front of them, the two of them wiped their eyes vigorously in disbelief. After repeated confirmation, their mouths opened in unison. Seeing that the Dragon Emperor had already walked along the road into the village, the two of them came to their senses and quickly caught up with him. The Taoist master really has magical powers. After looking at him, the Dragon Emperor stretched out his hand. Is that your home? Looking in the direction of his finger, Lu Shigi shook his head. No, that is the family of Lucien, the head of the village. The Dragon Emperor frowned slightly. Just now he activated the bronze mirror phantom in his dantian, and the Lucien family was enveloped by a strong ghostly aura. It turns out it's a ghost. Let's pick it up again when we get back. Without stopping, the group of 3 people soon arrived at the entrance of the village. Several village elders were sitting under a large locust tree at the entrance of the village, enjoying the cool air and looking after their children. Seeing the 3 people coming, they all looked over in unison. The village is so big, news like Lu Shigi's mother-in-law having an affair is earth-shattering, and the whole village has long been aware of it. Now that they have invited the Taoist priest back, their purpose is self-evident. This Taoist priest looks young, younger than my eldest grandson. Is he really capable of getting rid of evil spirits? A skinny old man with most of his teeth missing said. As the old saying goes, you shouldn't judge a person by his appearance. Maybe this young man really has great abilities. The speaker was an old woman with a flat mouth. If you have a hairless mouth, you can't do things well. I think this is Xian. A short, fat old man stretched out his hand to wipe away the snot from his grandson's mouth. He wiped his feet on the dirty solace of his shoes, clapped his hands and interjected nonchalantly. The skinny old man rolled his eyes. Why don't we follow up and take a look? The 2 old guys next to them suddenly moved. There was nothing going on here anyway, so they might as well go over and have a look. Soon, the 3 old guys and 2 children followed Su Junming and the others, walking towards the village. Moreover, as more and more people saw Lu Xiangui, the crowd of spectators quickly grew. The Dragon Emperor didn't care either. This world was originally an era of demons and monsters. Even the lowest level people knew about the cultivation of immortals and Buddhas, so there was no need to hide it. Is this the Lucien family? The Dragon Emperor pointed to the green brick house next to him. It could be seen that as the head of a village, the Lucien family's wealth was obviously higher than that of his brothers from the same clan who lived in thatched houses next to them. Exactly. Lu Xiangui nodded quickly. It's true that Lu Xiangji keeps the door closed in broad daylight, for fear of others stealing his things or something, Lu Sanlang muttered. There is no lack of envy in the words. He does have reason to be envious. To ordinary villagers, the allure of a brick house is comparable to that of a Chinese garden villa in the 21st century and a young man moving bricks. However, the door of Lucien's family was locked not because he cherished money, but because there was a ghost living in his house. Moreover, he is also a fierce ghost in the late stage of Golden Core. After looking at it twice, the Dragon Emperor did not immediately remove it. A small village with only 200 to 300 people actually had a golden elixir level ghost come to it. This fact itself was very strange. Let's settle the affairs of Lu Xianggui's family first, and then we can catch this evil spirit and go back to make some trouble. Under the leadership of Lu Xiangui, the group quickly arrived at a courtyard on the east side of the village. In this Daong dynasty, which was very similar to ancient China, those who could afford to read had relatively well-off families. The same is obviously true for Lu Xionggui's family. Although it is not as deep as the courtyard of the Lucien family, it is still a well-to-do family built with blue bricks, rammed earth as the courtyard wall, and two thick wooden doors dividing the inside and outside. Taoist master, this is my home. He quickly opened the iron rope on the door, pushed open the courtyard door, and let the Dragon Emperor walk in. I turned around and was about to close the door, but the crowd of spectators snowballed and swelled more than 10 times. How could I let it go? The two sides quarreled for a while, but Lu Xiongui couldn't stop so many people, and was afraid of making the Taoist priest wait too long, so he had no choice but to give up. Bypassing the already modeled screen wall, there are some dug wild vegetables drying in the relatively clean yard, but because they have not been cleaned for many days, a lot of dust has accumulated on them. Hearing the noise, an old man wearing a grey cloth came out of the main room holding two children, one large and one small. After glancing at Su Junming first, his eyes turned to Lu Xiongui, and the meaning of the inquiry was self-evident. "Dad, this is Taoist Master Long who I invited back from the heavenly gate." "Well done, old layman," the Dragon Emperor saluted him. "Hello, Chief Taoist." The old man hurriedly returned the gift. Then he waved, pulled his son over and whispered, "Taoist Master Long is so young, can he really get rid of the evil spirits in Ziyufang?" "Dad, don't worry, Taoist Master Long is a man of real ability." After experiencing the fact that he arrived at the village entrance from Tianmen Mountain dozens of miles away in an instant, Lu Xiongui was convinced of Dragon Emperor's abilities. Seeing that his son was full of confidence, although the old man was a little suspicious, he didn't ask any more questions. "Taoist priest, my thorn is in the left wing." With that said, Lu Xiongui took Su Junming towards the side room on the left side of the main room. Before he could walk in, a woman's voice could be heard inside. "Open the door and go in." In a room of about 30 square meters, there is a bed placed in the back, surrounded by a few old chairs and some sundries. On that bed, a woman was tied tightly with a rope and a coarse cloth was stuffed in her mouth. If you didn't know better, you would have thought it was a woman bought from there who specialized in giving birth to babies. Lu Xiongui was also afraid that the Dragon Emperor would misunderstand, so he quickly explained. "Taoist priest, I had no other choice, so I came up with this trick. As soon as I let her go, she would either jump or make a fuss, which would make the whole family uneasy." After saying that, a look of dejection appeared on his face.